I give the CIA a total credit for sponsoring and initiating the entire consciousness movement, counterculture events of the 1960s.
Explore the moon, the planets, and the interplanetary environment of our solar system. To investigate the sun and its relationship to Earth, the geophysical properties of the Earth, and the physical nature of the universe. To determine the biological effects of the space environment on Earth life form, and to search for and analyze extraterrestrial life. To develop experiments from manned space flight, which use the special capabilities of a trained astronaut as a sensor, manipulator, and evaluator. Provide pre-doctoral training for scientists and engineers, and grants for space science research projects and laboratory facilities to best use university resources for the national space effort. To develop and manage launch vehicles, on which rely on
I give the CIA a total credit.
Oops, didn't mean to start that twice. Welcome back to Rise to Liberty podcast. Got a very, very big show today. Supposed to be earlier, but unfortunately power went out at the house, and but we're here now. So one thing I wanted to mention real quick, started the show with a cover of California Dreamin' by the Beach Boys because Brian passed away, so Brian Wilson, and I figured it was fairly fitting. So anyways, today's topic is the CIA orchestrating the 2025 LA riots and nationwide mayhem. So when I first started looking into this, because I'll be honest, that anytime I see anything like this happen, my first thought is always CIA. I don't know if that's, I'm pretty sure that's just my blind spot because it's not always, but it is a lot. And so I obviously thought, like, this is just really weird, and I started noticing patterns. I don't know if any of you have been watching the coverage or, seeing clips or anything, but I've been watching it for several days now, and it's just so weird. Like, there seems to be a time schedule for everything. Everything kicks off around the same time every day. Goes and goes and goes, and then there's like a break halfway through the day, and then a second wind, and then eventually everyone goes home. Of course, there's some people that don't follow that, but it just seems too perfect. And now there's just so many people coming out. Hundreds, thousands of people just all ready to go. I did see a pretty funny picture of a guy selling Mexican flags in Denver. It's like, you know what? It's like selling rotten fruit and veggies at like a medieval chastising of a criminal or something. Capitalism is awesome. But, it just seems way too weird. And so I just started digging, and boy, is there just a ton of evidence for this everywhere. It's pretty apparent in my opinion. So I wanted to go through some of the best things I could find on such short notice. I think we could go through and probably find better stuff, but I think we did pretty good. So let's see here. Oh, there we go. So first and foremost, before we get too deep, make sure and go over to risetoliberty.store, pick up a t-shirt or I don't know, something cool, coffee mug. It really helps out the show. Or if you want to help donate to the show, go over to risetoliberty.com/coffee, or you can go over and go visit ko-fi.com/risetoliberty. There's a couple of things that help. Let's see right here. Okay, so first we're going to start off with what the CIA officially was saying after Trump came into office. I found this incredibly fascinating. I thought it was pretty bold of them too. So Jeremy Bash, one of the 51 intelligence officials who signed the letter claiming Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation, is now suggesting uniformed military and CIA should disobey direct orders from their commander-in-chief, Donald Trump. And then whoever this is said, this traitor is panicking hard. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm personally, I believe Trump is a lot more on their side than, a lot of MAGA people would like to probably admit. Let's see. So this is November 12th, 2024. So this is, let's see. Yeah, so this was after, November 12th. Yeah, after the election, but before he took office. So let's see what he has to say.
Part of being institutionalist means you believe and subscribe to the view of separation of powers in our constitutional system. And you kind of hit this at the top of the show. We're going to be entering a period in which Donald Trump not only controls the entire executive branch, his party will control the Senate, probably the House, and a significant majority of the U.S. Supreme Court. So anybody who has taken civics understands that when you control all three branches of government with a political party, it's much more challenging to have checks and balances. And so as difficult as it is to contemplate this at this moment, Nicole, I think we have to rely on Republicans, Republican elected officials, Supreme Court justices, and people inside government and outside government who are willing to continue to have checks and balances, to continue to hold the executive branch accountable. If there's an unlawful order given to the United States military, I expect, and I think it will be the case, that uniformed military will not carry out unlawful orders. If these people try to politicize the work of the Central Intelligence Agency, I know the people who work at the Central Intelligence Agency, they will not allow their work to be politicized. They will speak the truth, and the truth will set them free. That's emblazoned on the wall of the original headquarters building at Langley. There's a kind of a mode of operating, a view, a loyalty to the Constitution that honestly is bigger than any other idea of who's in power, who's your commander-in-chief, who's calling the shots in the executive branch. And I think we can have faith in people who believe in these institutions.
Wow. That's, it's a pretty bold statement. Somebody mentioned, did you see some protesters now using real weapons against the police? This is not cool. Yes, I did see that. I saw somebody yesterday had started firing on LAPD or California UHP. I don't know. I can't remember who it was. I've watched a lot of rioting footage over the last several days, but I did see that these cases were starting to pull up, and I'm not surprised. So let's just get this out of the way. I do not believe that this is an organic protest. I do not believe that this is just people exercising their First Amendment. I believe that this is calculated. This was planned. There was a lot of funding brought into this. I also believe that this is at least their beginning steps. I don't know if it's the full-fledged plan, but it's the beginning steps of a full-fledged color revolution, or at least attempting to. So, and we'll go over that more, like exactly what a color revolution is and, why I think that's what we're dealing with. I guess it does kind of depend on how long all of this goes. So the only thing I've really heard is that the protests and the riots are going to stop after the ICE raids in California stops. And the ICE raids were supposed to be like a month long. So this could be a month long of riots and stuff. Yeah, no, totally. They are totally involved. So let's see. So now we're going to move over to what Adam Schiff had to say. And this was much earlier. This was March 10th, 2024. So this was even earlier than what Jeremy Bash had to say. Let's see what Adam Schiff. Oh God, he's just such a weasel, isn't he?
Congressman, let me ask you about this development this weekend. U.S. intelligence officials are planning to provide briefings for Donald Trump if he officially secures the nomination, despite the fact that he's facing 40 felony charges for his handling of classified documents. As the former chair of the House Intelligence Committee, do you think it's appropriate for him to receive intelligence briefings?
Well, that is the practice, but we've never had a situation where one of the candidates for president has been so criminally negligent when it comes to handling, if not worse, when it comes to handling classified information. So I have to hope, and knowing the intelligence community as I do, that they will dumb down the briefing for Donald Trump. That is, they will give him no more information than absolutely necessary, nothing that would reveal sources or methods, because we can't trust that he will do the right thing with that information. He's been so reckless. So, yes, it does concern me. It is part of a long tradition. They will be wary of what they should.
It's just, I mean, what can you say about that, honestly? It's just him. I mean, I do believe that he is being honest. Because if you watch him other times, he's itchy, you know? But I do think he was being 100% honest here. I don't believe that the intelligence community had any intention of ever cooperating. From all of the research I've done, it pretty much has confirmed that what happens pretty much with all of the intelligence agencies is if they get a president that will play ball, then great, wonderful. And if they don't, then they pretty much just wait 4 years to be able to get somebody else into office, or 4 or 8. And so I'm pretty sure that's what the CIA is doing. Not like they stop operations by any means, because they keep doing things. They just, especially now, they have found ways without going through their congressional oversight, so that they can keep operating basically inside the borders of the United States and outside, because they operate everywhere. They don't give a shit. Let's see. So, I brought these two things up just to say, like, look, the intelligence community is intentionally, let's see, sorry about that. I have a lot of tabs, so let's see. There we go. So I brought those two things up, and this last part, it's John Brennan. I wanted to bring these up to show that the intelligence community, CIA, FBI particularly, at least they're the ones leading the pack, that they are so bold in this stance that they are blatantly saying it on the media. I mean, that's crazy. It's one thing to say it behind closed doors or put it in a memo that nobody's ever going to see, but then to come out and blatantly say this or even recommend it live, it's wild. That is wild. Just to say, no, we're just not going to obey. We think he's crazy. We think he's criminally negligible. So why would we give him briefings? Why would we cooperate with him? We're not going to cooperate with unjust laws or orders, whatever. So, okay, let's get to John Brennan. Let's see. Come on. Stupid mouse. Computer's running a little heavy. Like I said, there's quite a few tabs to get through. So, John Brennan, Russiagate conspirator and laptop hoaxer. So, the Hunter Biden laptop, he was one of the 51 that signed the letter saying that the Hunter Biden laptop was a conspiracy theory. Let's see. So, John Brennan is worried that the CIA and FBI won't be apolitical under Trump. And will no longer attract principled individuals because they're so principled now, right? So let's listen to what he has to say.
These agencies, whether it be the FBI or CIA or others, they attract individuals who really want to do right by their fellow citizens and to tackle those tough issues.
Okay, I do want to jump in right there real quick because I do agree with that I think that there are people that join these organizations thinking that they will do the right thing because they're still on, or they still have the belief that it can be done within the system. So I don't doubt that there are people going into it that are good. Once they're there and see what happens, I think you either have to lie to yourself or you have to leave. Which is why we see a lot of people on the other side, like John Stockwell, or what was his name? That the FBI whistleblower. I don't know. There's a lot of them, and I think you start seeing a lot of them come out after their career, saying things like, "Well, this is what we were doing," and I just find that kind of convenient because it's like, well, you didn't blow the whistle when you were doing it. So why is that? It's because to be in the organization itself, you have to lie to yourself. And the more you lie to yourself and believe the lies that you're doing what's best for the country and you're protecting American citizens, then you'll move up.
Issues, whether it be terrorism or whether it be, foreign espionage activities here in the States. They're principled individuals who really believe in the integrity that is necessary in order to conduct these investigations, again, in an apolitical, nonpartisan way. But if this new regime now is putting in place sort of this test of loyalty to the Trump administration, again, that is it's so similar to the totalitarian regimes that I saw overseas for so many years in terms of making sure that the security services are doing the bidding of the political leaders, are not really carrying out their obligations and responsibilities to the citizenry, to the country, to their constitutions. And that's why I think the FBI, I think, is going to have a tough time attracting individuals that have that type of principled approach to government service.
I don't think they're going to actually have that hard of a time attracting people. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how, recruitment is going for any of these organizations. There does seem to be a lot of patriotism on the right now. I mean, to a scary mind control degree where, not that long ago, we were talking about, we as in just anyone not on the left was talking about, auditing the Fed or abolishing these certain agencies and cutting spending and all of these different things. And now the things that the right is talking about, not that I'm on the right necessarily, but the right was talking about, or is now talking about, how they want people to be arrested for burning an American flag, which that's a whole different issue. I'm not getting into that here. However, it is still classified under the First Amendment. Like it or don't, that's not the point. It just seems weird. It just seems really weird. I don't want somebody thrown into a rape cage just because they burned a flag. However, I do think it should be applied equally to all flags, and that does include Israel and the Skittles flag. I think you should be able to burn those flags openly, as long as it's your flag, Let's see. Okay, so really where all of this started. Oh, okay, hold on. just found something else I was looking for earlier. Aha. So we are going to play this real quick. I just mentioned John Stockwell, so I wanted to pull this up so people would know what I was talking about. Let's see here. So, John Stockwell, legendary CIA whistleblower, exposing the agency's deplorable history of destabilizing governments in the global south, black propaganda, creating drug cartels, and more. Soon to be found on blah, blah, blah. I don't care. All I care about is the clip. So.
Tuned, I urge you to read.
Oh, what the hell? Really? Come on. Okay, give me just a sec. Just want to make sure that we get sound on this. What the hell? Okay. Give me just a sec. Oh, okay. See, did it work?
Tuned, I urge you to read for yourselves. Do not take anything I'm saying tonight.
If this wasn't so important, I would just drop it and move on. But considering what he says, it's really important. And I, of course, should have brought this up beforehand. Once again, that's just kind of how we do things around here sometimes is we get going, get talking, and then I realize, oh, I should have brought this up. And you know what? Like it or don't, I don't always like it. Let's see. Maybe this will work. Okay. There we go.
We've set out to overthrow functioning
Okay, yeah. So this one is going to work. So, Secret Wars of the CIA, a former CIA operations director. So John Stockwell was actually over operations in Vietnam. He participated in the Phoenix program, which is why we know a lot about what we do. Not everything, but he gave us a lot of information. So it looks like this was at American University in 1989 when he was giving a speech about exactly what the CIA does, what they're known for, and really what they hide from the public.
We've set out to overthrow functioning constitutional democracies in over 20 countries. We manipulated elections in dozens of countries. We created standing armies and directed them to fight. We went after to organize ethnic minorities to encourage them to revolt. The first thing we did in Nicaragua was to go to the Mosquito Indians, who had never gotten along with the other people in Nicaragua very well, and give them more money than they had seen in the entirety of history, and arms and training and rationales and sanctuaries in Honduras, and sent them into Nicaragua to attack, kill, fight, rape, burn, pillage. And this has been a technique the CIA has used in Nicaragua, in Thailand, in Vietnam, in Laos, in the Congo, in Iran, Iraq with the Kurds, in different parts of the world. We created, trained, and funded death squads like the Treasury Police in El Salvador. And we've assassinated world leaders, including the United States President in 1963, and I'll get to that in more detail in just a moment. You can never be sure how many people are killed in the jungles of Laos or the hills of Nicaragua, but adding them up as best we can, we come up with a figure of 6 million people killed, minimum figure. It has to be more than that. These things are all done in countries of the third world where the governments don't have the power to force the United States to stop destabilizing the country and brutalizing their people.
So, I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, that's what the CIA does. I mean, it was supposed to be started as an agency that was supposed to gather intel for the president. and it very, very quickly changed. It turned into covert operations or cloak and dagger operations almost instantly. I mean, this began when it was still the OSS, before it became the CIA, and it's just been going like that ever since. So I find that incredibly interesting. But this was back in 1989. Okay. So let's see, at this point, now they would have had 80 years, almost 90 years of practice at destabilizing countries, taking out entire regimes. And the way they do this is they do it through revolutionary action. Is they go over and they propagandize and they run psychological operations on the citizens. They usually fund or create some sort of freedom fighters or some sort of revolutionaries that will turn around and overthrow the government, and then they back up the revolutionaries, which, I mean, that's just been, so much history has just been documented of them doing this. It's not a secret. It's not a secret. So that is their capabilities. Now, officially, they are not supposed to operate inside the borders of the United States. They're only supposed to be foreign operations. But I mean, that went right out the window almost at the very beginning also, because I mean, look, we have MK Ultra, well, Bluebird, Artichoke, MK Ultra, and then everything that came after. So yes, their charter, everyone points to this. The CIA's charter says that they are not supposed to operate within the borders of the United States, but they don't give a shit. Who's going to stop them? Congress? No. Most of the time, Congress doesn't even know what they're doing. They're not going to tell on themselves. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to get things done. So, I mean, just keep in mind the capabilities that these people have. And also, espionage is also right up there. It's not like they do all of these other things and then they just skip on the spying or the domestic surveillance, these sorts of things. Let's see here. Talks amongst yourselves. Let's see. There we go. Just getting everything else ready. So that's why it was so important to pull this up. It was, I don't know how much I believe these whistleblowers after the fact. I do think a lot of them regret what they did. And so they're trying to get it off their chest, before they, leave this earth. But I don't know if that makes them feel better or if they think that they're going to be able to like buy their way to heaven or something, or they just want to unburden themselves, I don't know. I know that there's quite a few people that I wouldn't trust completely. Ted Gunderson being one of them. I don't trust him entirely. I trust a lot of the things that he put out because I believe that a lot of these guys and now gals, some, not so much the whistleblowers, but I believe they are disinformation agents. Because there's never such thing as like ex-CIA. There's always still some sort of a connection. Except in a few rare cases. But so a disinformation agent is going to release almost all real information. Almost everything they release will be real and true information, but then they release little bits and pieces, little breadcrumbs of bad information to steer everyone wrong. It happens all the time. That's why researching all of this stuff, anyone that wants to pick it up or that doesn't now, you just have to read all the sources. You have to just read everything and then you start seeing the pattern. You start seeing what's true, what's not true. Okay, let's see. Where are we at here? So, with that said, where are we? Okay, so I think I'm going to change this up just a little bit. So, I wanted to try something new, and I wanted to go to Grok and go see how this kind of works out. So, first and foremost, we are looking at Grok. It's grok.com, you know. Let's see. Let me fix the screen. There we go. So this is just adding to, you know, what the CIA's capabilities, well, and the intelligence community in general. So CIA and FBI, plus NSA, DHS, all of them. So this is incredibly important for this topic. So I asked Grok, what can you tell me about Operation Chaos, in case nobody's ever heard of it? The term Operation Chaos refers to multiple distinct contexts, each with its own historical, fictional, and cultural significance. Below is a concise overview of the most relevant interpretations based on available information. So, number one is the CIA Operation Chaos, which took place from 1967 to 1974. Operation Chaos, also known as MH Chaos, was a covert CIA domestic espionage program targeting American citizens from 1967 to 1974. It was actually longer than that. It started way earlier than 67. We'll see here in a minute. Initiated by President Lyndon B. Johnson and expanded under Richard Nixon, its mission was to investigate potential foreign influence and domestic protest movements, particularly those related to race, anti-war, and other activist groups, directed by Richard Helms and led by counterintelligence chief James Jesus Angleton and Richard Ober. The program had a global scope, denoted by the MH moniker. Let's see. So the activities that took place during Operation Chaos, the CIA infiltrated groups like the Students for a Democratic Society, or SDS, monitored over 300,000 Americans without their consent or knowledge, and created a computer index of 7,200 individuals and 1,000 organizations. Methods included physical surveillance, electronic eavesdropping, and collaboration with foreign intelligence services. It also targeted groups like the Israeli Embassy and Jewish organizations. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Using tactics like purchasing a garbage collection company to gather documents. So they were going through people's trash, and they just, instead of, you know, getting agents hired and doing all of that, they just said, fuck it, we're just going to buy the company. That's wild. And I can't imagine they ever sold it, you know. I mean, maybe they did. It changed hands, but I bet it's still in their control. So the controversy, the program violated the CIA's charter. See, there it is, which prohibits domestic spying. Yeah, but they don't give a shit. That's for optics. Despite finding little evidence of foreign control, it continued until 1974. It was exposed by Seymour Hersh in a 1974 New York Times article, leading to the Rockefeller Commission investigation in 1975. So when this was exposed, it was actually the Family Jewels expose, which maybe we should cover at some point in time. So the criticism, former CIA officer Frank Rafalco, noted the program's no-win situation as the White House dismissed negative findings and pushed for broader surveillance. Posts on X also describe it as part of a broader history of mass surveillance and political persecution. No, we are not going to read about Call of Duty. That's fucking lame. Or a novel. No. Of course, you know, the reference to chaos, Tom O'Neill's book. And that does have to do with it, but that's a little in the weeds for what we're talking about today. Okay. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's Grok. But that is just a basic overview of Operation Chaos. And at the same time, in fact, let's see. Let's try this. Oop. I don't know. What the hell? Okay. So I just asked Grok, what can you tell me about Operation COINTELPRO? COINTELPRO is the FBI's version of Operation Chaos. The one thing it didn't really like explain in Operation Chaos is exactly how far they went. The agents didn't just go like infiltrate these groups, the SDS, the Weather Underground. I actually have a whole list of them. Let's see. So there was like the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, the SNCC. Let's see. There was the Congress of Cultural Freedom, Congress of Racial Equality. There was just like all of these student uprisings that were taking place. I mean, you've got the Vietnam War going on, and you've got a massively successful anti-war movement in the beginning. And of course that puts them, you know, that stops them dead in their tracks, and they realize it almost immediately they've got to figure something out. But the agents would go into or infiltrate these groups. I mean, they were already recruiting agents and confidential informants from universities anyways. So they just put some of their own agents out there, pretended they were students, got involved, and they did surveillance. But then as the program progresses, the agents that were tasked with undercover work started egging these people on, started encouraging more and more radical behavior. So they would start pushing these guys and gals into becoming more and more radical, which to me, that just seems, I mean, how is that not entrapment? Would they have done these things if they weren't influenced by somebody who probably has way more training in psychological warfare or propaganda techniques than the average person? I don't know. I don't think they would. I think you just have to look at the FBI setup of the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping thing. Like that was in total entrapment. Anyway, so I mean, it went really far. I mean, they were threatening people. I mean, they were acting like thugs. Let's be honest. Like that's what it was. So Operation Chaos was the CIA's version. COINTELPRO was the FBI's version, basically. And the FBI actually can operate within the border of the United States, but not outside of it. So, two sides of the same coin. Let's see. So, what can you tell me about Operation COINTELPRO? COINTELPRO, short for Counterintelligence Program, was a series of covert and often illegal FBI operations conducted from 1956 to 1971, aimed at surveilling, infiltrating, discrediting, and disrupting American political organizations and individuals deemed subversive. Below is a concise overview based on available information. Let's see. So, initiation, it was launched, at least officially, in 1956 by FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover to target the Communist Party USA. COINTELPRO later expanded to include a wide range of groups. Targets included the Communist Party, the anti-Vietnam War organizers, civil rights groups, example, the NAACP, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, Black Panther Party, subsequently the White Panther Party, feminist organizations, Puerto Rican independence groups, American Indian Movement, and others like the Ku Klux Klan and Nazi groups, which they still do today. Shout out to Ken Silva. Go check him out because he's done some amazing work showing that COINTELPRO never ended. So I would say that it's probably safe to bet that if COINTELPRO never ended, chaos probably never ended. Or at the very least, I mean, the CIA and FBI are working together or something. I mean, there's just, once again, so much evidence for this. You just gotta look. You just gotta look. So, let's see. The methods used by the FBI. So the FBI used infiltration, psychological warfare, harassment via the legal system. They do all of these things now. Illegal surveillance, wiretapping, break-ins, spreading disinformation, forged letters, false media stories, and inciting violence. Notable tactics included sending anonymous letters. Sending anonymous letters to create distrust, such as one to Martin Luther King Jr. urging him to commit suicide. It's a wild letter if you've never read it. Planting informants to sow internal discord or provoke illegal activities. Framing activists like Geronimo Pratt for crimes they didn't commit. Orchestrating violent confrontations, such as between the Black Panthers and police, contributing to events like the assassination of Fred Hampton in 1969. Yeah, that was fucked up. They got him while he was sleeping. So the scope of the program targeted over 2,000 operations. Operations against various groups. It operated in secret, often bypassing legal oversight, and violated First and Fourth Amendment rights. That's all true. The exposure and aftermath. Discovery. In 1971, the Citizens Commission to investigate the FBI broke into an FBI office in Media, Pennsylvania, stealing over 1,000 documents that exposed COINTELPRO's activities. These were leaked to the press, leading to public outcry. Investigations. The 1975 Church Committee, Senate Select Committee to Study Governmental Operations, investigated COINTELPRO, confirming its illegal activities and abuses of power. The program was often terminated or officially terminated in 1971 after exposure. Bullshit it was. Bullshit it was. There was no way. There's just no way. In fact, I had Ken Silva on my show. So make sure and go check that out. I need to get him back on the show. We were supposed to do a part 1 and part 2 of COINTELPRO. The one that we did release is all about COINTELPRO in this era. Also, with a focus on, let's see. There he is. With a focus on like the Oklahoma City bombing, these sorts of things. So let's see here. Wow. In fact, it looks like Yeah, he's been busy at work lately, just like always, kicking butt. Let me pull something up real quick. Just look up some of his okay, so Ken Silva, it's at JD_cashless on X. Let's see. A new batch of J6 records show the FBI executed disruptions ahead of J6. Disruptions can include criminal arrests, but in COINTELPRO era, they referred to undercover informants infiltrating political groups and sowing discord. So, just more evidence that it's still happening. Let's see here. Yeah, so right here, COINTELPRO was officially shut down in 1971, which it was, but it was just renamed. The replacement, VAAPCON, or Violence Against Abortion Providers Conspiracy. Man, that's fucking wild. So what's interesting is the FBI has almost exclusively targeted right-wing organizations and right-wing groups. I mean, it's not too hard to find evidence that the intelligence communities, specifically the FBI, view anyone on the right as, dangerous. I mean, they've released documents out to the public like that. Let's see. Anyways, go follow follow Ken. Wonderful resource. And his work has shown that it's still actively taking place today. So, just quick recap: we've got Operation Chaos, the CIA. We've got COINTELPRO, which is the FBI. Both of them did merge, by the way. Usually, intelligence organizations don't like to work with each other, but they did this time. It was just so important. Plus, LBJ, that piece of shit. I don't want to say he forced them to work together, but like everyone just seemed to be on the same page. So they were all working towards something, and it was something terrible. Let's see. The impact. The revelations damaged the FBI's reputation. It sure did. Led to reforms like the Freedom of Information Act's expansion and prompted stricter oversight of intelligence agencies. However, some activists and ex-post claim similar tactics persist under different names, though evidence for this is speculative and requires verification. No, it fucking doesn't. I mean, please, go look it up and go see it for yourself. But it has been verified. So that's a bullshit lie, and it's not speculative. It's been proven, but you can go find the information. So, connection to Operation Chaos. Overlap. COINTELPRO and the CIA's Operation Chaos, 67 to 74, were contemporaneous, I don't know, and shared similar goals of neutralizing dissidents through chaos focused on alleged foreign influence on domestic groups. Both programs collaborated at times, sharing intelligence and tactics despite the CIA's domestic spying restrictions. Once again, because they don't give a shit. Distinction: COINTELPRO was broader, targeting a wider range of domestic groups, while Chaos was narrower, focusing on foreign links. Both were exposed in the 1970s, contributing to public distrust and U.S. intelligence agencies. Controversies and legacy, of course, the ethical violations, the tactics, including character assassination and incitement of violence. Yeah, I mean, they're pushing people into doing these terrible things and then being like, haha, I got you. It's like, what? I don't know. They were widely condemned as violations of civil liberties. The program's targeting of non-criminal activists, especially civil rights leaders, remains a flashpoint. Well, and not to mention, I don't know if it was the FBI that actually did this. Well, actually, I think it was. Martin Luther King Jr.'s family ended up suing the federal government over his assassination, that they had something to do with it, and they won. They won their lawsuit. And in fact, you can pull up some memorial website. I don't have it offhand, but it gives all the documents. It shows every little thing. It shows them admitting in court, and they ended up settling. Massive, massive story that they had something to do with his death, meaning they planned it, and they won. They won in court. It's incredible. And so you got to start thinking about all of the political assassinations that also took place in the 60s, which, I mean, you've got Malcolm X. They had mentioned, let's see, it's up here further. Fred Hampton of the Black Panthers. Not to mention all the, the planting of evidence and like all of these different, it was just, they were thugs, man. That's what they were doing. And then on top of that, you have Operation Gladio, which was going on in other countries at the time. I guarantee that some of those tactics used over there in Operation Gladio bled in to COINTELPRO and Chaos. I mean, why wouldn't it? They're over there talking to agents. It's not like these agents go and hang out with normal people. I mean, maybe family or whatever, but not really. And agents hang out with agents. You don't hang out with people outside of work usually. And so they're going to be swapping war stories, right? Or tactics or whatever. And so these things are going to come back. Plus agents get moved around all the time. Yeah, it's just one big ball of fucked up. I don't know what else to say about it. So modern relevance, some ex-posts and sources suggest COINTELPRO's tactics echo in modern surveillance and social media manipulation. It sure as fuck does. But these claims often lack concrete evidence. Bullshit. Let's see. Cultural impact. Nah. Let's see. Okay. Critical note. COINTELPRO is well documented through declassified FBI files and the Church Committee reports. But conspiracy theories, buzzword, on platforms like X sometimes exaggerate the scope or link it to unrelated events. Always verify claims with primary sources or reputable accounts. That part I agree with, okay? Yes, this part I agree with. And just to get this out of the way, it's not to say that there are no conspiracy theories in the sense of the word. There are some people out there, some disinformation agents. There are also some people out there that don't really understand the structure of these programs, and they just kind of conflate a lot of stuff together. But to say that like anything outside of what was it, 1973 or 71 when it ended officially, that everything past that, like, it's never been proven. Look at the Gretchen Whitmer case. What did they do? They infiltrated a group, and then they tried to push these guys into doing something radical, and then they set them up. That's it. So, and that's all come out in court. So yes, it has been proven that it's still going. For example, while COINTELPRO's actions against Martin Luther King Jr. are confirmed, broader claims of ongoing COINTELPRO 2.0 programs require substantiation. No, they really don't. Feel free to go look them up, though, because they do exist. But once again, I do agree with this, is always verify claims with primary sources. If possible, secondary is fine, but primary is definitely what you want. And reputable accounts, like mine. So, I mean, that is, these are two bookends to what the FBI and the CIA are capable of, what they were doing, what has been proven. I mean, this is all basic stuff, but it needs to be talked about over and over and over and over again, for a new generation, for people who might not know, people who already know. It's always good to visit the basics again, but we've got to talk about it because of what's going on now. So let's keep moving, shall we? Let me clean this up just a little bit, make sure. Okay, so this is kind of where this whole question started. So yeah, we're about an hour into it. Let's revisit the question. Is the CIA orchestrating the 2025 LA riots and nationwide mayhem? Well, let's rephrase it a little bit. Are they capable? Are they able to? Do they have the resources to? Do they have the know-how? Let's see, let me fix the screen again. There we go. Boom. Yes, they have the know-how. They have done things like this in the past. In fact, I believe, I could be wrong on this number, so don't, roast me too hard, but I think it's like 109 or 119 governments that the CIA has overthrown all throughout their history, 80 plus years. They've overthrown or attempted to overthrow plenty of governments. So yes, they do have the know-how. They have the connections. They have the resources. Something I'm a little curious about. Let's see. U.S. Let's go see how much how much funding they're getting right now. Where are they? So I just pulled up the U.S. debt clock. Let's see, it's supposed to be on here somewhere. Sources, blah, 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 energy output. Yeah. It is a great app. For anyone watching or listening, it is a wonderful app. I'll tell you that. I use it all the time. I think it's only like $3 or $4 or something. Let's see. So there's defense and war. So on the app, it actually does have a section that shows. Let's see here. No, it doesn't look like there's a section. So on the app, it does show all the different black operations that goes on. Let's see. Secret window. Okay, well, sometimes that happens. Anyways, back to where we were. So they definitely have the resources, the capabilities. They don't give a shit what their charter says, because if it's good for them, they're going to do it. So anyways, with all of this rioting going on, this planned rioting, this planned chaos and destruction, and we'll get to why I believe it to be planned. I wanted to put this out there because it was a document that I came across, and I hadn't seen very many people talk about it. There were a couple of bigger accounts, but yeah. Anyway, so my tweet says, it is probably a good time to remind everyone that the CIA wrote a document dated 1965 all about riots. Date September 22nd, 1965, titled Analysis of Riot Planning. Then I provide a link and finish off by saying, and don't forget, this was the height of the FBI-CIA joint venture COINTELPRO, which we just went over. And this was a retweet towards Laura Powell. I found her researching this topic. We'll get back to her though. So let's take a look at this document real quick. So we're not going to go through the whole thing because I don't want to be here literally all night. But you can find it. The link I provided, it's CIA.gov in their reading room. So let's see. Right here. Analysis of riot planning. I mean, isn't that fucking wild? So the index, you know, covers like a lot of different, there is some benign stuff in here. You know, how are we going to react to a riot? How are we going to, as the CIA, how are we going to respond if we need to? Although they can't technically act as law enforcement. So I think they can get called in for like backup or something if things got really bad. But I think they would probably send in National Guard and full military before they would do that. I don't know, because I do know that, you know, a lot of cops do work, get subcontracted for intelligence agencies. Because guess what? Like if there was ever a big operation where they needed agents all over the country, they don't have enough. So they have to rely on local police departments and local sheriffs to basically help them out. So always keep that in mind. Maybe the cop pulling you over is actually a Fed. Not to freak anyone out or anything, but it is possible. So this is a right here, September 22nd or 22nd of September 1965 memorandum for the Chief, Special Policy, and Executive Staff. The subject, analysis of riot planning. 1. This analysis of riot planning at the federal, state, and local levels is submitted as requested. Now, I should probably point out, okay, 1965. At this point in time, we have a full-blown civil rights movement, full-blown anti-Vietnam War or just anti-war movement going on. And I do believe that these organizations at least started, they started naturally. So all of these student protest organizations, you know, the SDS, they did start organically. People didn't want America in Vietnam. Like having researched Phoenix, it is really incredible because Vietnam, it was just so blatantly criminal. I mean, it's really kind of hard to put that into perspective. It's hard for me to imagine it, but I mean, we know even more now, but it was blatantly criminal. There's no reason to be there. It was all about drugs. The Gulf of Tonkin was fucking made up. But nobody wanted to be there. People were dying for needless reasons. You know, it was a banker's war. It was a rich man's war, and the poor people went off to go die for it. And all the young kids at the time saw through the bullshit. So I do think a lot of these movements were very organic. People were very angry. They wanted a better life. Now, at the time, leftist politics and leftist ideals, socialism, communism, anarchy, or anarchism, all of these ideas, they were a lot more popular then than they are now. They were also a little bit different, you know, because ideas tend to change over time. But anyways, culturally, that's what we had going on. And, you know, 65, let's see, that's like right at the beginning of, you know, the anti-war hippie movement and the, well, those are actually two different things. Hippies and anti-war movement were separate. We'll get into that. But then you have the music of the 60s coming around about this time. So that's what's going on. At this point, I mean, we already have COINTELPRO going. So they're already infiltrating these groups. There's already been riots. There's already been mass protests. They've already been assassinating people. They've already been discrediting people, running propaganda campaigns, doing all the shit we just talked about. So they've already done that by the time this document's written. So just keep that in mind as we go through this. So the purpose of this document is to determine the overall authority, policies, responsibilities, relationships, and plans at the federal, state, and local levels to cope with civil disturbances or riots, with particular emphasis given to the Washington, D.C. area, to determine the current status of CIA responsibility, plans, procedures, and relationships with other agencies, federal and state and local police for protecting CIA facilities during such crises, and to give suggestions for possible improvement. So the way I read this is that there wasn't really a whole lot of structure with what they were doing with chaos. And so this is kind of for them to be more efficient. So they were kind of just going buck wild. Like, I assume like there was probably a lot of agents that went too far, fucked some things up, and boom, we now have a fix for it. But this is like a very clear outline of how the CIA is going to operate with federal, state, local authorities, and all of these other things, what they're going to do officially. So the situation, past riots, demonstrations, and current unrest among certain elements throughout the United States, which have resulted in extensive damage, including murder, looting, stealing, breaking into private and public buildings, etc., are sufficient reasons to assume that this unrest will continue well into the foreseeable future, almost like now. Let's see. Well-known sociologists have stated that, quote, there isn't a, let's see, it's a little hard to read, metropolitan area in the United States, especially the 15 or so largest, where this isn't possible. Public officials at the highest level are keenly aware of the possibilities of more serious explosions, and that have stated that Washington, D.C. could become the scene of riots far more serious than Los Angeles. Interesting they mentioned Los Angeles, isn't it? And that is one thing that we don't have, and I hope it does not get to this point. The 60s and 70s saw a huge spike in explosions all across the country. And so obviously the 60s were a little bit worse off than what we are now, but you know, granted, I guess they didn't have social media, so I guess it was a bit harder to, you know, plan these protests and stuff. It's not so hard now. However, there were serious explosions all over the place. And it was, you know, I think it was a lot of COINTELPRO pushing these people into doing these things. I think it was agents themselves, maybe some organic. In just 1 year, I can't remember, I think it's 64, maybe it was 65. There was over 1,000 across the whole year, you know, from small to large. So I hope things don't go that far. We do not need that. So I'm hoping that things have changed enough that we don't need to go that far. But, you know, when you get a bunch of people in a crowd like that together, they're angry. And I mean, put yourself in their shoes. They literally think they have been brainwashed into thinking that Trump is Hitler. That's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. I don't think he's Hitler. And he's not a good guy, but he's not Hitler. And so that's just like the stupidest thing ever. However, they believe it. It doesn't matter what we believe. It matters what the opposition believes, and the opposition truly believe it. And they, like, we are a country now where we are split, and we are watching two different histories unfolding. You speak to the left and they'll have a different recollection of events, and you speak to anyone that's not on the left, which is how I kind of categorize things these days, ultra left and anyone not on that side. but you have two different realities that people are living. This is why we can't speak to each other. We're speaking past each other. I think a lot of that is mind control technology being pushed through algorithms, manipulating us just on a constant basis. I mean, people are doom scrolling and just taking in all of this information that their brain doesn't even know what to do with. And it's a mess. But I'm really hoping things don't go this far. So to continue on the situation, we read A, let's get to B. The following was extracted from an article in a CSI publication, I think, or OSI publication titled Significant Counterintelligence Briefs, which in turn was taken largely from an FBI analysis of the Los Angeles riots. The FBI assessment states that there is no evidence that the Los Angeles disorders were sponsored by any particular group or organization. That's a little scary. It appears to have occurred spontaneously. Knowledgeable observers in evaluating the potential for race violence report the potential for outbreak of riots or other forms of violence continue to exist and could develop from any one or more of a number of factors inherent in our society today. Yeah, OSI, Air Force Office of Special Investigation. That makes sense. Thank you for that, Druid. Let's see. So, I mean, it does sound incredibly similar. Now, here's what I think is really different is that I think the factors that were inherent in the society back then were naturally occurring, whereas in the attitudes that people have towards Trump or ICE, whatever the hell is going on, I think it's 100% manufactured. I think the outrage is completely just pounded into people through brainwashing technology. Once again, just like the whole split in the country. So, yeah, I think that's a big difference is that this is like artificial reality that's been placed upon us versus something back then, which was a lot more organic that showed up, which is why here's the big difference. History doesn't repeat itself. History rhymes, right? So back in the 60s, the intelligence community was trying to figure out how to respond to this, how to stop it, how to quell it, how to just stop the counterculture dead in its tracks. This time around, I think they're in charge of it. How can we get the counterculture moving? How can we change the counterculture and drive the counterculture? So it's similar. They're still in charge, but on different ends of the spectrum here. So offense and defense, right? Let's see. Have we considered what percentage of what we are viewing is AI generated video and content? No, I mean, that is entirely possible. I mean, the deep fakes are getting insane these days. However, if you watch enough of them, you can still point them out. Your average person, though, if they ran across anything, I mean, they're not gonna know. I would say there's probably not a whole lot right now because it's a lot. I mean, they've put in a lot of effort into actually getting these people to do this shit. So, and plus they want as much fear out there in the media as possible. So if they can show real people doing real terrible things or doing crazy things, they're going to. I do think that's a good point, and we do have to watch out for that, especially moving forward. I think we've had to watch out for that with the Israel-Palestine conflict the entire time, on both sides, mind you. Definitely on the Israel side, maybe less so on Palestine side, but on their side as well. So that is a good point. Thanks for bringing that up, because we should be I mean, just be skeptical of everything until you can prove it, you know? Right. Yeah, since the Maui fires, I agree. So let's see. An atmosphere of restlessness and a sense of distrust of constituted authority permeates many areas in our country, creating a latent but volatile element which is susceptible to expression in the form of mob violence at the slightest provocation. Man, people are so much dumber now. Just like this wasn't that long ago. People don't write like that anymore. And I know it's a government document, but just the word choice. I don't know. Let's see. These conditions present in hundreds of cities throughout the United States in varying degrees qualify these municipalities as potential centers of racial violence. Let's see. So CIA installations, of course, redacted. Gotta love it. Could and probably will be prime targets. CIA private contractors, which are performing classified work, could also be prime targets. See, I don't think that's as big of a deal today as it was back then. Let's see. When such actions is directed against CIA installations and personnel, including CIA private contractor installations, obvious serious security problems will arise. Let's see. Summary and action suggestions. This paragraph sets forth a brief analysis of each major item or factor as contained in the bias memorandum and the several tabs, and contains suggestions for future courses of action in respect to proprietary, riot planning or coordination necessary to protect CIA interest, personnel, and facilities which house classified material. So let's see, reference tab A, Executive Order 10501. See, I've never heard of that one. Let's see. So this executive order gives the basic protective let's see. We're in classified. Let's see. I don't think we really, no, that's not going to point to anything we need to right now. So, no, that's just all about protecting facilities. Like I said, I don't think that really matters as much today. Like I said, there is a lot of benign stuff. Safeguarding official information in the interest of the defense of the United States. Yes. So I don't think a lot of this, or what I was saying is there is benign things in this document, just like any of them. Let's see. Reference tab B, federal duty and power to keep the public peace. Here we go. So the federal government has no general power or duty to keep the peace in the several states, except when states and local authorities cannot or fail to keep the peace. Then the federal government brings to bear whatever force and authority is needed, i.e., mediation by U.S. officials, U.S. Marshals, the military, etc. That's not a big secret. That was public back then, too. The District of Columbia, being a federal domain, is directly under federal authority. However, the overall protective jurisdiction and command authority among the several protective elements is not clear when it comes to suppressing large-scale riots or until the district is occupied by federal troops. I do think this is kind of interesting. They're focusing on protecting Washington, D.C. so much, when anyone who was paying attention back during the recent Summer of Love, you know, all the BLM riots, the fiery but peaceful protests. I mean, there was a point where the BLM rioters took over Washington, D.C. and trashed the place. They even burned a guard shack down on White House property, which, as far as I've heard, is still not rebuilt. And the reason I remember this event so well is because of the news coverage. At the time, because of all the protesters and the fire bombings, the Molotovs, and like this incredibly violent riot going on in DC, they put President Trump in his first term into the safe bunker, and all of the media outlets were mocking him for this. And like, what? Like him or don't, he's the fucking president. He's gonna get put in a fucking safe shelter. That's like the Secret Service's job. So, but it was just blatant. The media was just making fun of him. It's like, ooh, scaredy Trump, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Oh man, that's completely antithetical to Trump's circumventing Newsom's authority unless he's saying Newsom can't keep the peace. See, I think it's that Newsom won't keep the peace. I think that's the authority that Trump is using on this, because he won't. I mean, Newsom is barely even running that state. He's holding that office mainly so he can get into the office of president, right? Because he's guaranteed going to be the Democrat front runner for 2028. And I saved this section right here because I bet that he asks AOC to be his VP running mate. Say it right now. So, whoa, once the feds move in, it becomes a federal oversight issue. Wow, the implication. Yeah. Well, and here's the thing is I think feds are already there, right? Anytime a riot in any city happens, they show up quietly to protect their, right, big booty Latina. Don't listen to what the socialist titties tell you. Just ignore them. The feds are already there, and they're already on high alert. They're already working. I guarantee they're already out in the crowds. They're, in fact, I saw pictures of them. I should have found that and brought that up. It was actually pretty cool, saying like, look at this, look at this. I'll find it for the next stream. Didn't even think about it because it's on Reddit, and fuck Reddit. So, but yeah, I mean, it is incredibly interesting just to kind of compare back then to now, them focusing on protecting Washington, while these days they'll just say, yeah, take Washington. Let's see. So actions suggested. The consideration should be given to establishing a liaison with the Deputy Attorney General under which U.S. Marshals operate, or with the head marshal concerning current planning in this area and U.S.-wide. Consideration should be given or having one or more OS officials made U.S. Marshals duties and relationships limited to CIA matters, facilities, etc. This would give CIA needed arrest and detention powers at a term of stress. Interesting. So just basically allowing the CIA to openly operate as law enforcement. I mean, they do secretly, so, but this allows them to do it openly. Let's see. State duty and power to keep the public peace. The state and local authority has the basis authority and the responsibility to keep the peace within their jurisdiction. CIA has many limitations, including private contractors, which are doing classified work located within such jurisdiction. Actions suggested. The matter of, let's see, is this something we, eliminate the, no. Okay, let's see. It's more just U.S. Marshals protecting facilities. It's not really anything mind-blowing. I will provide this for anyone that wants to go read it. So anything I skip over, you can go back and go read. But I mean, you can find it. Analysis of riot planning, CIA, or if you do CIA.gov and then in quotations. So in quotations, analysis of riot planning, it will pull right up. Let's see. So, reference tab D, the National Security Act of 1947 and the CIA Act of 1949. The responsibility of the DCI to protect intelligence and intelligence sources and methods, right, except for the use of firearms. And that's interesting. Why would they put that? Let's see. The director to authorize CIA carriers to carry firearms are well documented. However, the authority of the agency, Director of Security, to issue firearms to CIA employees, Security Patrol, for their use, shoot to kill if deemed necessary, in their official duty in protecting CIA personnel and facilities is questionable. Guns are often needed during riots. They were issued to the Security Patrol until recently, and they have been carried while on duty and are regulation authorized such use. Yeah, I mean, I would expect agents to have guns, right? Let's see. Let me read through this. Like I said, I don't want to read all of this because it's, 67 pages. I'm trying to get to, some of the most damning stuff. Let's see. Let's see. So agencies, reference tab E, Office of Security. Agency regulation HR redacted establishes the CIA Security Patrol for the purpose of protecting classified material, agents out in the field, basically, installations, property, and personnel for the agency, blah, 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 in the event of riot, national disaster, enemy attack. It's not too crazy. CIA Emergency Planning Officer. Yeah, that's pretty benign. General Services Administration. Let's see. Wait, what's this? The above functions of the Director of Security and the CIA EPO are in direct conflict. And, okay, that's nothing really. Let's see. General Services Administration. Once again, I just want to, as we're flipping through this, I want to remind everyone, they have agents currently participating in Operation Chaos, right, which is entirely illegal. And then they also are in conjunction working with the FBI, who at the time was running COINTELPRO. So keep all of that in mind. I mean, like I said, the reason for this document is because, for one, the riots were going to continue in the 60s. There was no sign of stopping. And it seems like, because there is a layout of, this is what, we need official titles and we need official descriptions of what each title can do. It seems like somebody went a little too fucking far. Somebody did something, or lots of people did things to where this was necessary, because otherwise the CIA or FBI, anybody's not going to just go through and create this unless there was a reason to. So I would like to, know the reason why this was created, because they were already operating. They were just going rogue at this point. So this is trying to reel these guys back in a little bit, which I find interesting. But at this point, they also would have already known exactly how these demonstrations and the riots and everything are planned, because, well, they've already been at it for 5 years. They already had CIs, confidential informants, on university campuses. They already had people that were recruiting for the agencies. Stanford, Harvard. Let's see. Stanford, Harvard, Cornell. They were everywhere. Any university, especially the big ones, any of the Ivy Leagues, state schools, not so much, but the big universities, they were everywhere. Still are. Let's see. So, General Services Administration. overall plan of protection in the Washington, D.C. area. And it's not really, let's see, we're not aware of top authority within the district during the large-scale riots, short occupation, federal, blah, blah, blah. CIA should be knowledgeable of GSA's district and regional plans for protecting federal buildings. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, just more protecting CIA facilities. The way they make this sound, though, is like there are just so many facilities. And I don't doubt that there are. I would actually be really interested to see if there's any record of all of these properties out there that they own. Ooh, that reminds me, speaking of properties, just to kind of give everyone an idea, let's see. I knew I was forgetting something when I was getting this all brought up. So one of the most recent posts I made on my Substack, let's see right here. Okay, so lists of CIA businesses and fronts. Okay, this is just a list, a more complete list than you can find like on Wikipedia or, you know, from some official news outlet. Like I actually had to go through and dig and find all of these. I mean, there were sections that were already done. So I didn't do everything, can't take credit like that, but I did put in a lot of work with this. So this is a list, allegedly, of camouflage companies, NGOs, non-governmental organizations, camouflage institutions directly controlled by the CIA and other secret organizations of the USA, organizations, foundations, publishing houses, editors' offices and institutions, which have been or are still subsidized fully or in part by the CIA, companies, foundations, societies, associations, universities, and other educational institutions, law firms, news agencies, publishers, and editorial boards, which have been infiltrated by one-time leading officers, officials, or employees of civilians and military secret service organizations, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. So anyways, that's what this list is, okay? And this is related to all of the properties that they could own. So everything is alphabetized here. Some of these organizations, the NGOs and stuff, they're not around. Some of them are still around, still active. In fact, a lot of them are. But yeah, so this goes through, and I mean, this kind of gives you just an idea. When they say protecting CIA property, could be any of these. You know, right, exactly. USAID, right, that's exactly what it is. You know, and this was, so back in the 60s, it would have been, well, no, let's see. JFK was the one that put USAID in, but it really didn't get like co-opted the way that it is now for, I think, the first 5 or 10 years. I can't remember. But CIA has been doing this since day one. I mean, they've always needed front organizations. I mean, if you just look at some of these, like the American Federation of Labor, Congress of Industrial Organization, let's see, Agency for International Development, Air America or Air Asia, they're the ones that flew the cocaine. Where's the list? Let's see. I will throw it in the chat right now. Let's see. But this is actually on my Substack. It's called Beware the Mockingbird. You can go in the episode description. It will be in my master link, or it is down there below. I do have a link directly to the Substack. But that's where this is, and I just threw it in the chat for anyone who's curious. Alliance for Anti-Totalitarian Education, America America, that's supposed to say Force Insurance Group. See, I'll have to fix that. Let's see. American Academy for Girls, American Association of the Middle East, American Chamber of Commerce. And this is just the A's. Like, look at this. When I said I put in a lot of work for this, I put in a lot of work. Oh, look at this. Boy Scouts of America. Let's see. The Brook Club, Brotherhood of Railway, Airline, and Steamship Clerks, Freight Handlers, Express, and Station Employees. One of the organizations not around, although I do, if I'm remembering right, they changed to something. Now, some of these were complete and utter CIA cutouts. Some of them were established organizations that they infiltrated, or some of them, like, they bribed. And some of them, they even tricked and, pretended to be somebody else. They represented themselves as somebody else. And so these NGOs and stuff would work with the CIA, not knowing. Some, not all, but some. The Campfire Girls, which I think is interesting. Caribbean Marine Area Corporation, John Carroll University, Catholic University Youth Organization, CBS Television Network. No surprise there. Chicago College of Arts and Sciences. It just keeps going and going and going. Also, before we move on from this, just to let you know, it is a living document. So if anyone finds anything wrong with this, or know of any organization that's not on the list that should be, send it my way, and I will update all of this as we go. So make sure and check this out. But yeah, it's not a complete list of all the NGOs, because I think there's like over 15,000, the last numbers I saw. And I'm not going to get it to that point. But anyways, this is a living document. So let's get back to where we were at. Let's see. Okay, so I mean, it is kind of a big deal when they're talking about protecting CIA assets and properties and stuff. I mean, they've got property and assets everywhere, literally everywhere. It's just, it's crazy. It is crazy. Let's see. So keep moving through, because we do have other things to get to as well. As much as I would like to sit and just do an entire show of nothing but this document, and maybe we will. Maybe we'll do it at a later date. Let's see. U.S. Capitol Police. That doesn't really matter. CIA contractors. Plans for the protection of CIA private contractors which house classified material are not known, and there are reasons to believe that many would not be properly protected. Well, sounds like a you problem. Let's see. Actions suggested that the matter of riot protection be discussed with each such contractor. An estimate of the situation be developed, and solutions to problems, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's see. So keep moving. Analysis of riot planning, tab A. So this is where they go like deep into everything, break it down. This is what we're not going to get through, because I want to make sure and get to other things that I have brought up. But we're nowhere near done, because I've still got a shit ton of tabs open. Let's see. Anyways, you can go through this. In fact, I've actually got an idea. I will recommend somebody else. Let's see. It was Mark something. He's been talking about all of the I've been talking about all of the US aid stuff. He's been on tons of shows recently. Let's see. Damn it. Of course, I can't find him right when I need to look for him. damn it. Mike Benz. I can't believe Mark. Sometimes I'm an idiot. Let's see. So Mike Benz is a great source. I actually he did a stream not that long ago, breaking down this entire document, going through all of it, amongst many other things. So I do recommend that. Just go look up Mike Benz on X and you'll see the stream. Like, it's one of his most popular streams. Let's see. So, I mean, with as thorough as the CIA is, and as effective as they actually are, it's crazy to me that it's not crazy to me that they did an analysis of riot planning. So deeper in the document, it goes into how they're going to respond from within. Not sure exactly where that is, but it's in there. Let's see. Let's just do this. Let's throw it in the chat real quick. Oops. Let's see. Take it from here. Clean link. Boom. Okay. Threw it into the chat. So yeah, go check that out. Anyways, I did, like I said, it's probably a good time to remind everyone that the CIA wrote a document dated 1965 all about riots, how they were going to respond to it, handle it, all of these different things. Let's see here. So I said earlier, for anyone who wasn't here, because let's see, now we're in 45. I don't believe that this is a genuine, organic protest that turned into a riot organically. I do not believe that at all. I genuinely believe that this is an attempt at a color revolution. So what is that? We're just going to go through this quickly for anyone who doesn't know. Let's see, let me fix the screen real quick so you guys can see. There we go. Okay, so color revolutions are a political term used to describe turbulent political events, mass street protests, and riots in order to achieve a revolutionary change of government. Doesn't that sound familiar? Some revolutionary upheavals are successful and some remain only attempts. However, so far, they have taken place in a number of countries at the end of the 20th and the beginning of the 21st century, largely ran by the CIA. Mind you, because we've gone over how they do this in other countries. That's basically like what they do. Agree with us, do what we say, or we'll just overthrow you. So color revolutions broke out in the countries of the former Soviet Union, in the Balkans, in the Middle East, and more recently in other places such as Iran and China. Let's see when. Okay, so this was actually written January 6, 2024, so not that long ago. The most popular revolutions are the Pink Revolution in Georgia in 2003, the Orange Revolution in Ukraine in 2004, the Tulip Revolution in Kyrgyzstan in 2005, and the Euromaidan Revolution. That sounds like a fucking awesome heavy metal band. Euromaidan Revolution in Ukraine in 2014. Some observers called the events a revolutionary wave whose beginnings can be traced back to 1986 and the Philippine Yellow Revolution. You know, I'm not sure why they name them colors and stuff like that. That's, I mean, color revolution, yeah, but I don't know. There's got to be more to it. Let's see. The world we live in is changing more and more from day to day, and so are the means of political struggle. Conquering power by military means is to some extent obsolete because people no longer have the will to die in the trenches like they used to. Yeah, they burned that bridge. And yeah, Druid, 2014, when we were responsible for the overthrowing of the Ukrainian government. We were right in the middle of it, orchestrating all of it. Let's see. So classic wars are expensive and long and are being replaced by more subtle ways of conquering a certain area. One of the most important is the color revolution. Under the guise of a democratic uprising, the removal of an unskilled government or a coup d'etat is actually being carried out. Most often, external powers, without exception the West, sponsor, plan, organize, and implement revolutions. The role of external forces in colored revolutions is crucial, and without them, they cannot arise. These are revolutions mostly in name only. In fact, it is a sophisticated form of warfare, often in a international conflict, although the legal profession does not yet recognize it as such. So this is regime change, okay? Let's see. Yeah, basically we play the populations like fiddle, thinking they're being empowered. Why we do the opposite. Yeah, and that's exactly what the CIA does, and that's what they've done for almost 80 years, you know? Yeah, close to 80 years. Or a little over. I don't know. Right there. Regime change has been an important feature of U.S. foreign policy for decades. CIA. Beginning with the overthrow of the Syrian government in 1949. Now they're a fundamentalist Muslim country, which is whatever. Since then, it has been estimated that the CIA has overthrown or attempted to overthrow 50 governments. No, it's like double that. Although it has admitted only 7 cases. But yet it keeps happening. I'm surprised they admitted to 7. Color revolutions are an integral part of U.S. foreign policy that seeks regime change in hostile countries. Hostile meaning you're not going along with the oil dollar, the USD, and either you come in, you take our debt, you buy our debt, and we'll protect you. And if you don't, then it would be a shame if something bad were to happen. It's just mob tactics, straight up. Let's see here. Stupid mouse. Okay. In addition to the CIA, the State Department, the Pentagon, and various U.S. and domestic non-governmental organizations, NGOs, okay, that's important, and domestic non-governmental organizations are most often engaged. In the last decade, a long list of countries with relatively stable political systems experienced color revolutions. Somewhere they were more and somewhere less successful. Egypt, Tunisia, Syria, Libya, Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, China, Iran, Venezuela. The regime change scenarios in all these countries show striking similarities because they were committed by the same organization. The same patterns are persistently repeated, which cannot be mere coincidence. Coincidence does not exist. Just get that out of your vocabulary. It doesn't exist. Egypt and Ukraine are very different, but the January 25th revolution in Egypt in 2011 and the Euromaidan revolution in 2014 are so similar that even the behavior of the revolutionaries was the same. Moderate Islamicists in Egypt and radical nationalists in Ukraine. So you've got, I like how it says moderate Islamicists. No, they were radicals. It was the Muslim Brotherhood. And then radical nationalists in Ukraine, fucking Nazis, like real legitimate Nazis. Let's see. And we put both of them into power. Let's see. So definition of the phenomenon. Even Western media today point out that color revolutions, which are described as technologies aimed at exporting democracy through civil disobedience. Isn't that like a propaganda term right there? Technologies aimed at exporting democracy through civil disobedience. Man, that's colorful. Have become so sophisticated that their methods have turned into guidelines for changing political regimes. Initially, the color revolution was presented as a nonviolent overthrow of the government, including a change of political regime. Over time, the definition became broader. Almost all coups started with peaceful protest and demonstrations, but only 1 out of 5 coups passed without casualties. So the true definition of color revolutions would be that they are technologies for creating a coup and gaining control of the political situation in a certain country from abroad. So I think we are at the start of what they were trying to do. They're trying to introduce this color revolution. Who knows if it's going to take, but I do think they are trying. Most definitely, with as quickly as like all of the protesters have come out in force. This weekend, we're expected to have the the No Kings demonstration. Like, it's supposed to be all across the country. Okay, probably a good idea for everyone to stay home and hang out with their loved ones, because I don't want to be out there this weekend. I don't know what the hell people have planned. These people are nuts. Let's see here. So, okay, so this is actually kind of important. So the true definition of color revolutions would be that they are technologies for creating a coup and gaining control of the political situation in certain country from abroad under conditions of political instability, with pressure on the government through political blackmail, using the youth protest movement as a means. The goal of every color revolution is a coup d'etat, or the conquest and maintenance of power by force. Despite the great differences between the countries where revolutions break out, geopolitical, social, economic, they all fall under the same scheme that includes the pattern of organizing a protest movement, transforming that movement into a political crowd, and using the newly formed popular mass against the existing government as a means of political blackmail. That's exactly what they've been doing through social media. And if you go and watch any of the press conferences that Gavin Newsom has given, or that fucking bitchy LA mayor, whatever the hell her name is, the one that fumbled so fucking hard during the LA fires. This is exactly what they're doing. The rhetoric that is coming out of everyone who is opposing ICE or opposing the deportations, it's like it's just wild. It's like they are on script. Let's see. So Druid asks, okay, but how do we square Trump being on the side of the coup? Because I doubt he's an innocent party in all of this, taking the fall for someone else to rise. I'm not exactly sure, because so obviously he's part of the club, but he's also not part of the club. Because there's some people that he aligns with, but some others that he don't. He's had to basically start his own movement. And I think he was part of the club for a long, long time. He was a massive Clinton donator, right? Trump is a 1980s Democrat. Plain and simple. The Republican Party now, or the Overton window, has shifted so far left that just a normal Democrat from the 80s is considered right wing today. So that hasn't changed. I don't think right was on Maxwell's yacht in 1989. Yeah. And I mean, you can see pictures and video of him gallivanting around with the Clintons and stuff. He was a major DNC supporter, and he gave them millions, hundreds of millions. But then he wanted something that wasn't his, because it seemed like the regime wanted Hillary. The regime wanted Hillary, period. But I do think that his first election was an organic win. Granted, it wasn't by much. He didn't win by much if you go back and look at the numbers. And I think it upset the entire system, which is why you see a flip in the media. It's like as soon as he won, boom, it was like attack just at all cost. So I think at this point, like he's not for us, right? Like I'm not going to be like, oh, he's the man of the people or whatever, but there's a struggle going on, which is why they want him out. He is fucking up something. I don't know what it is. But what I've always said about Trump is, instead of somebody like Biden who will jump, he gets asked to jump 10 times, Biden will jump 11. Well, he ain't doing no jumping anymore, but any of the presidents take him, they'll jump, they'll ask how high, all 10 times. Trump, he's enough of a wild card where he'll still jump sometimes, but then sometimes he won't. And he'll say, I don't feel like it today. And he'll just do his own thing. So he is a maverick. I'll give him that. Like, he is throwing something in. He's throwing a wrench into the gears of the New World Order plan. And I don't think it's like any noble thing, but they do want him out of office for fucking sure. They do. They definitely don't want the deportations. I mean, that goes there goes the Democrat voting base, or at least the future voting base. So I don't know. It's like black hats and white hats fighting, but I mean, they're still both hats. They still both wear hats. So it's like, I don't know. And we're the ones that suffer. So that's kind of my take on it. Let's see. Let's see. Colored revolutions, hard power. Color revolutions do not represent the soft power of a state, as an American political scientist, Joseph Nye, claims. If it were so, it would mean that the color revolutions are a progressive step forward in the fight against authoritarian regimes, which is the messaging on the left. However, they are no less dangerous than local civil wars that arose due to authentic local reasons. That is precisely such revolutions are often the triggers of wars. For example, in Syria, Libya, and Ukraine, it's still going on in Ukraine. Color revolutions are very often instruments for the destruction of democratic governments in transition. Now, I think this is probably the goal, is they don't even necessarily want him out, but they do want to destroy his reputation. They do want to be able to like write the history, because like once he's gone, they can turn around and be like, oh, he was unable to control all of this, and look at how terrible of a president he was, and they want to fuck him over. I think if they could get him out of office, or take him out, they would. But I think they're definitely trying other things first, and they definitely want a demographic change in this country. They want their power back, and they're not going to wait the 4 years to get it. Plus, I think it's like a action-reaction thing, so they're going to keep acting, and then Trump's going to react, and they're trying to manipulate him into acting the way that they say that he's going to. It's all mind control, man. It's just, that's what it is. It's all a big chess game, and I don't know. I've gotten to the point where I can see it, and I can't unsee it, which is why, I mean, hopefully at this point, you guys are starting to kind of see what I'm seeing, is that this is the start of an attempted color revolution. I think they've always had this in the plans, but now they realize, like, look, he's going against the script. He's doing the deportation thing. There is a natural feeling of like patriotism again, like we want to get the country back together, and they don't want that. They don't want that. They want us demoralized. They want us fearful. They want us sick and unhealthy. So, yeah, it's really interesting. Let's see here. So the characteristic features of revolutions are political blackmail and the movement of young dissidents. For example, country A and country B are in a diplomatic conflict over certain political issues, such as borders or control over some resources. Country A wants to obtain certain concessions from country B and decides to use the colored revolutionary movement to exert pressure and achieve its political goals. I mean, that's Iran-Contra, that's the Houthis. I mean, that's the entire 20-plus year conflict in the Middle East. It's creating and funding ISIS. Like, come on, that was the CIA. Let's see. So the movement of young dissidents can most often be created through the student population. Interesting. Student population and the dissatisfaction of students due to exorbitant tuition fees, poor conditions in canteens, overcrowded dormitories. Students organize street protests that easily destabilize the state and can incite rebellion in other layers of societies. They always use the college kids because the college kids are fucking dumb. Okay? They just are. They're old enough that they think they know everything, but young enough where they don't know shit. And then you go to college and just get put into a 4 or 6 year propaganda machine that just steals your money, spits you out with some liberal arts degree and says, good luck. Now you owe us a bunch of money for that loan you took out. I mean, of course, they are the perfect, useful idiots. And I think you see this with the propaganda that gets pushed. Like, it is the young people starting all of this. So I don't see too many 70, 80-year-olds out there protesting. Let's see. So this is just a little bit more. I mean, this to me, this is what the CIA does. It's well documented. I think this is what we're seeing. And the fact that it's happened so quickly, so it's been so just like in our face. That's why I think it's a color revolution, or at the start of an attempted one, because there's no guarantee that it will go through, but they are attempting it, in my opinion. And that's what a color revolution is. So they have now brought the playbook home. Okay. And they have almost 80 years of practice in other countries, and almost every country in the world that didn't want to play ball with the US, they did it to them. And so now they have brought the playbook home. And I think that's what we first saw with the BLM riots. And now here's phase 2, So anyways, this is a great resource for anyone who's interested. This is Erasure Review. I actually am going to put all of this together on a list, and, I'm going to release it on my Substack. So keep an eye out for that. But let's make sure and keep moving. So we're going to go through this real quick. This was a PDF directly from Cambridge University, or the Cambridge Press, so cambridge.org. It's a journal of religion and international affairs. This was titled The CIA and NGOs. Okay. I made sure to point out the NGO part because this is critical to understand with what's going on today. Let's see here. I know this is only 2 pages, but we weren't going to read all of it, but there was a couple of things in here. Let's see, where was it? So how extensive and powerful should covert operations be? And how can proper limitations be set? How can one assess the value of CIA influence in example student organizations, and how can one assess the harm done when that influence is revealed? These are central questions and deserve continuing thought and discussion. But the recent disclosures about the CIA also point up serious problems that exist quite apart from the CIA. For example, many of the groups that are presently said to have received money from the CIA actually accepted it from non-governmental organizations, NGOs, which acted as conduits. And this use of NGOs by the CIA complicates a problem that was already growing more complex than any set of available responses. What is the proper role of NGOs in our society? And if they are increasingly important, as they seem to be, how and by whom are they allowed to be financed? Well, I think it's pretty safe to say that they probably shouldn't be fucking financed by the CIA. I'm sure there's going to be some, patriotic America first motherfuckers that aren't actually anything that they say, and that would get on me for that. So, but I don't care. The CIA doesn't have a good track record of treating us well or doing things in our best interest. So fuck them. Also, this was written in March of 1967, so 2 years after the Riot document. So we already knew that this was a problem of the CIA back in the 60s, okay? We already knew that the CIA was using all these fronts, these cutouts, these shell companies, all of this. Like, we knew this, we knew it was a problem, and it hasn't stopped since. So since the term non-governmental organization is used in different contexts, any initial definitions will blah, blah, blah. A good working definition was offered by the Carnegie Corporation, another CIA involvement. The term is arbitrarily limited to those organizations that have a private and nonprofit status, but are not universities, colleges or schools, hospitals, fully endowed foundations, or religious missions. It includes scholarly, professional, educational, scientific, literary, and cultural associations, health, welfare, and community action agencies, non-university research institutes, agencies providing overseas technical assistance, defense advisory organizations, and agencies that have educational purposes but are not part of the formal education system. USAID, okay? Let's see. There's these private non-governmental organizations perform many services in the public interest, and given the complexity of our society, both the range of their activities and the extent of their responsibilities seem destined to grow. Now, NGOs, like, in theory, how they should function, yeah, I think we do need NGOs. Well, if it was up to me, because NGOs are supposed to take care of what government can't take care of. So I want the most tiny, itty bitty government possible. So that's going to leave a lot for these NGOs to pick up. Now, in a perfect world, they would function the way that they should, but there is evil in the world, and it gets exploited. What can I say? So I don't think we should get rid of like the NGO process necessarily, but definitely some reform. And I think that is what's happening. I saw that they just voted on the first round of Doge cuts today, and it passed. So cool. Some cuts did come through. Of course, all the Democrats voted no. Some Republicans did. And they don't want USAID to go down because this is all the cutouts. This is where they're laundering the money, right? This is where they are doing all the shady backdoor shit that they can't do publicly. Let's see. The best of these agencies perform services that the society needs and the government cannot perform, nor will any profit-making agency. They can, for example, move readily into areas that need open intellectual examination and arrive at relatively objective appraisal, I think. They are free to examine and explore tender, touchy problems and to raise the hard and unpleasant questions. They can be committed to principles without being partisan to parties, but they end up being that way. Let's see, the Council on Religion and International Affairs, for example, examines foreign policy within the moral context in which it is shaped and relates that foreign policy to the democratic process of our country. Democracy sucks, by the way. This is not a pro-democracy channel over here. Mob rule. I mean, why would anyone ever agree to that? Let's see. It brings into a common form of discussion highly competent people in and out of government, people with widely divergent views, allegiances, and backgrounds. These people are united in their belief that sustained political decision is vulnerable, and they are able to develop and refine that intellectual exchange, that civilized and informed dialogue, which is necessary to the health of a democratic society. Okay, that was kind of pointless to read. See, for what we're talking about. But anyways, there is a very clear connection between the CIA and NGOs. It is very well known, very well documented, and has been for decades. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know what you want. This is here, right? Now, because we are trying to present information that this is what the CIA does, that this is what they've always done, that they're not going to stop it anytime soon, and how much information is so readily available. Like I said, I found an avalanche amount of information on this. So with what we're doing on the show, I found this document as well. This is also on CIA.gov. We are definitely not going through all 89 pages, not even like we did with the other documents. However, this document is titled Patterns of Regime and Leadership Change in the Third World. Even just more evidence that they do this, that they know how to do this, that it's written down in documents, there's manuals, there's everything that you could possibly think of. Let's see. Now, I had some like actual hard copy manuals somewhere. I'm not sure where they are though. But yeah, patterns of regime and leadership change in the world. So let's see. This reference aid examines patterns of regime and leadership change in the third world since 1955. It is based on a computerized chronology of leadership and regime changes in 101 countries. Remember that thing said 50 and they admitted to 7? Well, here they're talking about regime changes in 101 countries. And if it wasn't the CIA, then who was it? Because you can't tell. I mean, okay, maybe MI6 or MI7. But that's CIA, MI6, same organization, basically. Just one has an accent. Anyways, 101 countries with populations greater than 1 million. To illustrate the versatility of our database, we included a series of graphics in this paper that track levels of regime and leadership change. It is a fascinating document. Over time, regime duration and mechanisms of regime change in specific regions: Latin America, Sub-Saharan Africa, Near East, South Asia, and East Asia. And in the third world as a whole. The database, the chronologies and the maps are current through, okay, that doesn't really matter. Anyways, go through this document. There it is. There's the information. We've already shown so much. Let's see. Now, really the question is, so we've established that the CIA does this. They have the ability to, they have the resources. They're totally willing to do so. So what about today? Are they still doing it? Well, let's see. I found this. I actually haven't watched this. This is a clip of Laura Powell on the Reason Magazine podcast. Let's see here. So nonprofits tend to exaggerate the severity of issues they address to justify their funding. The problem is some take the claims at face value. When organizations such or like CHIRLA repeatedly claim Trump will tear their families apart, it's no surprise that people react strongly.
About 10% of people in LA County are illegal aliens, and that 20% of children in LA County have at least one parent who's an illegal alien. So when you look at it from that lens, you could see how when people are told Trump is going to come in and deport every illegal alien, and they're thinking through in their mind all the people they know and their family and their neighbors and other people that, that all those people could end up being just yanked away all of a sudden. And then you have people out there fomenting that fear and telling them this is what they are going to do. They're out there at these rallies going, they're going to do this. They're going to rip your families apart. So you could see how that would have a really strong emotional response and drive people to do whatever they can. And if, they can figure out what to do is to burn a Waymo, that's what they do. But they want to, they have that frustration and fear, and that's how it's manifesting itself. About 10% of people in LA County are.
Okay, so I thought that was really interesting. Before we move on too much, I was going to bring this up, but I think this is perfect for another show, but I did want to show it because this is part of the evidence that, this is possible and all of the other things. So CIA meddling, race riots, and a phantom death squad. During the 60s, the CIA infiltrated all of these organizations such as the Students for a Democratic Society, the SDFs, or Student Peace Union, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Take your pick of any of these student organizations. They infiltrated, ran them, or they either tried to take them down or tried to discredit them. They introduced LSD to a lot of the leaders, so they would, get brain damage, which is exactly what happened. And they knowingly did that. Anyway, so are they, orchestrating the 2025 LA riots? I don't know. It's looking pretty likely. I mean, they've done it so much, right? I don't know. But we will cover these on there's some projects I'm working on behind that we will touch on this subject again because it's incredibly important. There's also this one, the CIA's student activism phase. In the 1960s, the agency sought to fight communism through the students' rights movement. There's little reason to think its tactics have changed. Let's see, that was 2014. So yeah, I mean, it's only gotten worse, right? So back to Laura Powell. This is actually what I found that kicked this whole thing off. The suspicion I had is what kicked it off. But then I started digging, and then I found the mountain of evidence, and I found this. Laura Powell. This was like 3 days ago. Exclusive. Taxpayer-funded nonprofit behind the anti-ICE riots in Los Angeles. That's right. Taxpayer-funded nonprofits, NGOs, okay, that's what it's going to be, nonprofit behind the anti-ICE riots in Los Angeles. Over the past 2 days, ICE agents have conducted targeted operations across the Los Angeles region, detaining more than 40 suspected illegal aliens. These enforcement actions triggered large-scale demonstrations, some of which turned confrontational, with reports of vandalism, blocked traffic, and physical clashes with federal agents. Plus everything that's led up to this. I mean, even sitting representatives are literally, spreading spreading information for how to defy ICE agents. And, I don't like ICE. I'm a anarcho-capitalist. I'm a small government guy, if any at all. I don't even like the idea of a small government, but some form of a government's going to develop anyway. That's a discussion for a different time. But I don't like any of these agencies to begin with, so I'm not sympathetic to them by any means. Fuck these guys. But I also don't think that it's a very productive society to turn around and have your representatives try to undermine actual legitimate authority. And this is why I say it's legitimate, because ICE is actually just enforcing the law. That is what it is. I think we should probably do without some of these laws, abolish ICE, all of that. Yeah, but as of right now, by the book, they are just enforcing the laws. So all of this rhetoric of Trump's a tyrant and all of these things, he's going to split your families apart and stuff. Like, I don't know. My point is that it's not going to go well when that's this type of attitude that society is propagandized into having. Plus, I mean, the people that are propagandized are just manipulated by people that are calling the shots. So it's not like any meaningful change is actually going to happen. They're just pawns. So it just makes it even worse. So let's see. The unrest has prompted questions about who is organizing and funding these protests. One of the organizations at the center of the resistance to ICE is the Coalition for Human Immigrant Rights, CHIRLA, a Los Angeles nonprofit that has long provided legal and advocacy services to illegal aliens. Trila, I don't know, is known for radical positions on immigration. For example, it led a campaign to abolish ICE in 2018. Isn't that interesting? Yesterday afternoon, as clashes with federal law enforcement were heating up, Trila, whatever the hell, Executive Director Angelica Salas, held a press conference during which she announced that the Los Angeles Rapid Response Network's hotline had received more than 50 calls. I'd expect more than 50 calls reporting ICE activity and sightings of men in military garb. LARRN is organized by a coalition of nonprofits, and Trila, whatever, CHIRLA, plays a central role using its main phone line as the hotline number. LARRN's hotline is one of the communication systems that allows legal observers, volunteers, and other activists to be quickly dispatched to the scene of immigration enforcement actions. That's pretty fucking wild. I don't think that law enforcement has the right to act with no public oversight. I'm fully in support of filming the police, Be on those motherfuckers. Make sure they're actually following the oath of office, I'm all for that. But I don't think that's what they're doing. I don't think that's what they're doing. During her remarks, Salas, whatever, referred to SEIU California President David Hirta, Hireta, I don't know. I suck at names, okay? Give me a break. As her brother, highlighting CHIRLA's close ties to organized labor in California. That sounds like organized crime right there, organized labor unions. This dude, David, had been arrested during one of the protests for blocking the path of an ICE vehicle, as shown by video footage released by U.S. Attorney Bill Eseli. Governor Gavin Newsom expressed his unequivocal support for David, claiming he was only witnessing the action, while Eseli announced his intention to file criminal charges. That's interesting. And here's where it kind of gets spicy. So, for her part, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has defiantly opposed federal immigration enforcement in the city, stating on social media Friday, so last Friday, we will not stand for this. And no vamos, I don't speak Spanish. We are not going to permit these actions. She added that her office would collaborate with community-based organizations that serve immigrants. She has a long relationship with CHIRLA and bragged last year about it, obtaining federal funding for CHIRLA programs. That grant is part of a broader stream of public dollars that the organization receives from government sources. I wonder what government sources. Let's see. In fact, according to a financial audit submitted to the state, the CHIRLA organization received nearly $34 million in revenue from government contracts during the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023, with 96% of that funding from the state of California. That figure marks a sharp increase from the prior year when it received around 12 million. Holy hell. 12 to 34. What a jump. Around 12 million in government contract revenue. Agencies contributing to CHIRLA funding during this period includes the California Department of Social Services, the California Arts Council, the Governor's Office of Emergency Services, and the Department of Homeland Security. Sounds like the CIA could be involved in all of them or any of them. Not to mention any other federal organization. I mean, just flat out, Department of Homeland Security right there, just in our face. Notably, as mentioned above, DHS Contact funded CHIRLA to provide citizenship instruction and naturalization services. Well, let me wet my whistle. Let's see. So with $100,000 remaining on CHIRLA's contract, DHS froze the remaining funds in February. CHIRLA responded by suing. The court denied their motion for a preliminary injunction on May 29th. This is one of two lawsuits CHIRLA filed against DHS this year. The other was dismissed for lack of standing and is on appeal. To sum up how this works, your tax dollars fund an organization that organizes efforts to directly interfere with the federal government's lawful exercise of authority. Then, through its lobbying arm, that organization helps get Democrats elected to office, who then repay the favor by ensuring increased funding. This is the nonprofit industrial complex at work. Boom. So, I mean, we have established that the CIA has already done these things. They do it through NGOs. They are incredibly good at regime change since they do it everywhere all the fucking time. And it's all documented right in our face. Now with the USAID disclosures, we see exactly how corrupt this organization is, which is all nothing but NGOs, or nonprofits, like all of these CIA, FBI cutouts and shell companies, and they're getting tax dollars, which, mind you, it's probably a good thing to point out. Every penny that the CIA gets is your tax dollars, my tax dollars, everyone, well, all taxpayers' dollars. Any public institution is publicly funded, which means taxes, which means it was stolen from you, which means you didn't give your fucking consent for them to have the money. So all of this is happening while they're stealing our money. They're stealing our wealth. And then they're using it against us. Because like I said, I'm not a big government guy. But I do understand how this is going to harm the average American. And that I'm not okay with. So this is the nonprofit industrial complex at work, just like she said. This is what exposing USAID has done, is to show these organizations for what they are. Let's see. There is... Oh, okay. Actually, here is what I was looking... One of the things I was looking for earlier from Mike Benz. Actually, that's not going to work. Give me just a sec to pull this up. This is actually kind of important because it illustrates my point. Let's see here. Come on. Be in there. Man, I have way too many bookmarks on here. Let's see. Actually, here we go. This is going to be interesting. So, you know, Karen Bass, she's all over this. Karen Bass, the mayor of LA. Okay. Now check this out. Mike Benz, let's see, June 7th, 2025. He said, "It's crazy this riot is in LA, where the mayor of LA, Karen Bass, was for 6 years on the board of NED, a CIA cutout that specializes in starting riots and street protests before she helped the CIA start riots. She was a community organizer, professionally organizes protests." Isn't it a small fucking world? So I would say at this point, let's revisit the question, shall we? Is the CIA orchestrating the 2025 LA riots and nationwide mayhem? They have some role in it. They have some role in it. I don't know exactly what it is. Karen Bass is tied to it. I mean, here's the thing with a lot of this CIA and cloak and dagger operations. There's not going to be like the traditional type of evidence that non-tinfoil hat Americans would ask for. So, I mean, it's interesting because as a intelligence organization, you don't want any evidence tying you back to any of this, anything you ever do. So we definitely have to take historical precedents, things that we know that they've done, things that we know that they can do. And then we see throughout history how many times they keep doing it. Because a lot of people will say, well, you know, MK Ultra didn't work. They weren't able to mind control somebody. And so they just dropped it and never picked it up again. Sure. But they keep doing things that MK Ultra would have taught them. So we can't believe that. Now the regime change thing, the starting the protests, the manipulation of the masses, all of these things they keep doing and have done their entire existence. So now we see this huge uprising, practically almost overnight, after just an onslaught of media propaganda towards demonizing this person, whether you like him or not. The media has been after him, and none of us watching this right now would probably be able to fucking handle that. I don't think I would. Just like the sheer amount of onslaught of the media attacks, and not just one, not mainstream, everybody that doesn't like him, which is quite a few people. So I have a hard time sitting here and thinking, no, there's no way that the intelligence agencies that said that they weren't going to follow instructions, that they weren't going to take orders, they weren't going to give President Trump briefs, the same ones who are pissed that Trump is trying to cut USAID funding, these people that don't want him in office have nothing to do with the protests or nationwide mayhem. And I think at this point, which is what I've tried to do with this show, which is why I wanted to do it for so long, and we're still not done yet. There's still a little bit more to go, but what I've tried to do is just make it so obvious to anyone who's paying attention or not, that to think that they don't have their finger in this pie, you are a fucking moron. Like, I am now to the point, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. It's like, oh, well, they don't pay attention. They don't know the information. Here's the information. It's there. You don't even have to scratch the fucking surface. I literally found most of this stuff doing a simple search engine search. That's it. So, I mean, in the age of information, to be ignorant is a fucking choice. And I have zero tolerance for ignorance. No, there is no excuse for it. None. So I think we've set the precedence of their ability, their willingness. They've been proven over and over and over, and they will keep getting proved over and over. And so I don't know how anyone could sit here and think that they don't. The CIA, along with, I'm sure, other organizations, the FBI, DHS, I'm sure even the TSA probably has something to do with it. Everybody has their hands in this, because there is a faction that wants one side and a faction that wants the other. And the deep state, the intelligence communities, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same thing. They want whatever is happening. Okay. So whatever unfolds in front of our faces on the news, all of it, this is planned, it is organized, and it's paid for by your tax dollars. Even just that alone, like, wipe away everything else. The fact that money got taken out of your wallet, and granted, it's California, so it's not everyone across the states, but let's just start getting into what the government spends our tax dollars on. But still, they stole your money that you worked for, and then this is what they're doing with it. So fuck everything else. Just on that principle, you should be pissed. Hell, I'm pissed. Like, that's insane, Oh, isn't this interesting? So Karen Bass, Karen Bass got her start in politics in the Venceramos Brigade. I don't know, a Marxist front group in the U.S. funded by Cuba. Interesting. She traveled to Cuba many times. Directly spawned domestic terror groups, the Weather Underground. Well, I don't know. I've never heard of this this group. I'll have to look into that. That's interesting though. But directly spawned the Weather Underground. That's not exactly true. I'm sure they were a part of it though, so let's save that. Anyways, so Karen Bass, I mean, she's been all over the media talking about how she is not going to cooperate with Trump. They have been calling him a dictator. You know, he's threatening and doing illegal things, and he's not like I'm trying to stand up for the guy, because I really don't give a shit per se. However, what they're doing, what his opponents are doing, is clearly criminal, and it has been. So I don't know. People need to be pissed about this, but it's not organic. People are being manipulated. They're being mind controlled through the algorithms on our cell phones to be able to whip everyone up in a frenzy, just to be pawns in somebody else's game. You know, I guess I would feel a little bit different if this was a genuine organic movement. I'd be like, oh, well, at least they chose, you know. I am big on consent. That is a big thing to me. Informed consent. That's a really big deal to me, actually. And this is why mind control is a big deal, is because it's not your choice. You were influenced. It's fucking bullshit. And I don't know. I guess some people are actually okay with being controlled and told what to do or whatever. I'm not. And I can't imagine anyone watching this right now is either. You know, it's just interesting. Let's see here. I forgot about this part. So along with what Laura Powell said, she included this. She said, I forgot to share this document, which shows the list of government agencies that funded CHIRLA. It relates to the funding year ending June 2023 through the filing date, or though the filing date is 2024. So let's go take a look at it. Let's see who was funding. In fact, let me do this. I'd much rather do this. Let me just pull it up on my computer. Damn it. Here we go. Oh, no, damn it. Okay. Where did it go? Where did it go? There it is. Okay. No, I can't really see it either. Let's see. Well, let's see. No, that's not really any better. All right. Well, it's let's see. The list is as follows. Let's see if I can do it. Okay. Let's do this. Remove that. Stop. Remove. Remove from studio. Okay, give me just a second. I'm getting it pulled up, I promise. Here we go. Boom. Boom. There we go. Okay, now I can play around with it. Okay, so this is who also funded CHIRLA or whatever. The city of Palmdale. Neat. LA County Department of Consumer and Business Affairs, LA County Department of Arts and Culture, California Arts Council, California Governor's Office of Emergency Services, Office of Planning and Research, Immigrant Services, California Department of Social Services, whatever the hell this is, CDSSPF, Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, LA County, okay, CDSS-SG, whatever the hell that is, Department of Homeland Security. So here, there's the document, you know. There's a contact name of who to contact about those about those agencies funding this. So that's, dude, that is wild. And granted, I mean, this is all public information because it has to be. Let's see, back to, here we go. Okay, we're finally making our way through all these different tabs, starting to clear things up. So I think, I mean, tell me what you guys are thinking. Let me know in the chat, drop a comment or something. Do you think we've answered the question of, is the CIA orchestrating? And maybe they're not the top one. I don't know. I know we haven't answered that part. We don't know if they're, you know, the captain at the helm. But have we at least answered or provided sufficient plausible evidence that they are involved at the very least? So let me know what you guys think. We will be wrapping up here soon. We're not going to go for too much longer. This is a much longer show than I usually do. But since I missed the stream yesterday and was late today, I wanted to give you guys more. And so I wanted to really take my time with this because this is a big deal. I mean, everyone's been covering the riots, you know, and I don't see a lot of people talking about this. I wish I had a bigger voice. Speaking of which, I haven't bugged any of the viewers at this point. If you are enjoying this, if you are watching this, if you're enjoying it, please hit the like, the subscribe, follow, leave a comment, hit the share button, all of these things. What this does is this helps this channel grow, okay? This gets me in front of more people. This gets me more viewers, more subscribers, more exposure, and, you know, helps gets merch paid or merch bought. It helps, you know, more donations coming in and all of these different things, which in turn just makes a better show. It allows me to do this more for you. So if you like what you see, please just do that for me. It's free. If you want to go drop a donation or whatever, well, in fact, let's just do this. Go check out the store, risetoliberty.store. Okay. I mean, I've got a new design dropping probably tonight or tomorrow morning, but we do have a couple of designs right now. And there will be a promo code probably starting next week. We'll get that. Anyways, risetoliberty.com/coffee, and go over and go, you know, help out, drop a one-time donation or a monthly recurring donation. Both help. If you don't like buy me a coffee, head on over to ko-fi.com/risetoliberty. You can also help out over there. Same thing. One-time donation, monthly recurring donation. However, I do understand times are tough. You know, if it's a choice between your family or me, of course I want it. But if you can't afford it, don't. Okay. With that said, if you can't, you should do one of the free options. Hit the like, follow, subscribe, share this with somebody you think would find this useful. Hell, take the content, cut up a section that you like, post it everywhere. Let people know where you found it. Do whatever you would like. This is partially for you guys. So I hope that what I've been doing is something that you guys like. All right, enough shameless grifting. But we gotta keep the lights on. You know what I mean? Gotta keep the caffeine flowing. So let's see. Now, where were we? We've only got a couple of tabs left to get through. Okay, so this kind of takes us back in time a little bit in the timeline. This is back with Mike Benz. Yeah, Mike Benz. So the CIA ran $1 million into the National Education Association in the 1960s to control the direction of its senior leadership. Through just one of the CIA front funds that got busted, how many millions did the NEA receive in total? And how often do they work together today? I mean, this is teacher group, so this is how they're influencing students. You know, the CIA directly funding teachers. Isn't that interesting? I mean, no surprise, they do everything else. I do think it's kind of funny, is somebody did point out, though, is that like 1 million is not that much. And it's like, yeah, you're right, but I guarantee that's not the only money that they got. This is just like one-time donation that they found. But 1 million still is a lot. It can go far, especially when you have a very a well thought out plan about where to put it. Because usually, if you get that kind of money, you can usually tell them where it has to go. And I imagine if the CIA is giving the money, they probably tell people where to spend it. Let's see here. Here's another example along the same lines. CIA setting up International Women's Organization to pry off the female vote. Isn't that interesting? So they're just manipulating everyone everywhere they can. I mean, I know not all of them are successful, right? Like they can't be, just mathematically, they wouldn't be all successful. And they would come with varying degrees of success, but they're trying and they keep trying, and they get caught and they say, oops, sorry, didn't mean to. And then they do it again. And then we find out 20 years later that they did it with 10 more agencies when they got busted, and the other 10 didn't get busted. So, you know, it's interesting, but this is the reality of what's going on. Let's see here. So I wanted to bring this up. This does show some of the rhetoric that's being pushed, some of the propaganda that's being pushed. And this is the type of thing, this is what is inflaming everything. This is what is getting everyone riled up. Because, I mean, come on, Gavin Newsom, he is a talking head if I have ever seen one. I mean, this man, I kind of use that term lightly. I mean, he's a puppet. He's a puppet. Hell, at this point, with what doesn't surprise me, he could be just anything. I don't know. Or, lizard overlord for all I know.
Look, this isn't just.
So let's see what he had to say. This is a clip from him on June 10th. It says, when Donald Trump sought blanket authority to commandeer the National Guard, he made that order apply to every state in the nation. Okay, well, he can legally do that. Democracy is under assault right before our eyes. Fuck democracy, okay? We are not a democracy. We are a republic, okay? Fuck your cry to democracy. I don't give a shit. The moment we've feared has arrived. Ooh. The rule of law has increasingly given way to the rule of dawn. The founding fathers did not live and die to see this movement. It's time for all of us to stand up. Okay, I mean, he's calling for direct action. And I do find it interesting is he's appealing to authority of the founding fathers, or appealing to tradition. And these are the same people who are trying to change or abolish the Second Amendment. They're trying to do all of these sorts of things. They're trying to just spit on the Bill of Rights any chance they get. But when it's convenient, they use the appeal to tradition. And I just find it fucking hilarious. But let's see what he has to say.
Look, this isn't just about protests here in Los Angeles. When Donald Trump sought blanket authority to commandeer the National Guard, he made that order apply to every state in this nation. This is about all of us. This is about you. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment we have feared has arrived. He's taking a wrecking ball to our founding fathers' historic project, 3 co-equal branches of independent government.
There are no longer any checks and balances. Congress is nowhere to be found. Speaker Johnson has completely abdicated that responsibility. The rule of law has increasingly been given way to the rule of Don. The founding fathers, they didn't live and die to see this kind of moment. It's time for all of us to stand up. Justice Brandeis, he said it best. In a democracy, the most important office, with all due respect, Mr. President, is not the presidency, and it's certainly not governor. The most important office is office of citizen. At this moment, we all need to stand up and be held to account, a higher level of accountability. If you exercise your First Amendment rights, please, please do it peacefully. I know many of you are feeling deep anxiety, stress, and fear, but I want you to know that you are the antidote to that fear and that anxiety. What Donald Trump wants most is your fealty, your silence to be complicit in this moment. Do not give in to him.
Okay, that was kind of interesting, don't you think? I don't even know. I don't even know, but it did seem just like a bunch of fucking bullshit. Let's see. Here's another example of the rhetoric that's coming out. Breaking, the mayor of Ventura, California, has just accused the Trump admin of terrorism by deporting illegal aliens. This kind of rhetoric is what fuels the active insurrection in California. He vowed to join alongside the radicals to fight the ICE officials. Arrest him. I don't know. That's what he's saying. I don't know if I have an opinion on that.
I'm Doug Halter, Deputy Mayor of the City of Ventura, and this is absolutely unconscionable what's going on. I had never thought in my life that I would be seeing this sort of disruption and this sort of terrorism attack on our citizens, on our community, on our residents, our friends, our family, our neighbors, our workers, our employers. Everything that impacts one part of our community impacts all of us. And to see this coming from our own country, the country that I was raised by my Italian grandparents to love and be so proud of, and to see this happen, it's just unconscionable. This has got to stop. We've been asking for comprehensive immigration reform for at least 30 years. Now, if he really wants to be a hero, get on it and get it done. And leave our people alone, because we will fight and we defend them. They're part of our community. They will always be a part of our community. I'm Doug Halter, Deputy Mayor of the City of Ventura.
So here's what I find kind of interesting, though, is he appeals to, his grandparents being immigrants, nation of immigrants, all of that. It's like, okay, but the big difference is that your grandparents didn't come over here illegally, for one, or maybe they did, I don't know, but they didn't come over under the supervision of an NGO that was funded by your tax dollars. And once they got here, they didn't start waving an Italian flag, burning the American flag, saying, fuck this country. Like, give me shit. Like, I don't know. It's crazy. It's hard to put it into words sometimes, because it's like, once again, I don't really give a shit about a lot of this, immigrants and stuff. And it's like, but what I do care about, I care about assimilation. You can't come from a shittier culture and yes, some cultures are better than others. You can't come from a shittier culture that has some still backwoods, roundabout thinking. Come over here and just think that we're going to accept it because it's your culture. No. Still be proud of who you are. I'm not saying don't identify with where you came from or who you are ethnically or whatever. Fine. But when you come here, you're an American. And you come here because you want to be in this country, not because you want to give it back to Mexico. Also, that's not how it works. And it's just, so him appealing to his immigrant grandparents, I'm sure his immigrant grandparents wanted to be here for a better life, and I bet they worked their ass off. But they didn't come over here, live off of welfare, and then turn around and say, oh yeah, well, this country sucks, I hate it. Like, I don't know. Things are just way different. Let's see. We are getting close to wrapping up. This is something that needed to be brought up. This was from James O'Keefe. I tried to find the original, but I couldn't. So this Wall Street Apes don't really like the profile, but this is a good post. This should be national news. From James O'Keefe, A Line in the Sand. NGO, this is video proof of an NGO providing residency documents to illegal immigrants. No ID needed. Get residency documents for people not even there. Director of NGO approves without looking at docs. Immediately get the stamp of approval same day. NGO charging, making money off of providing residency documents to illegals, making $500 per illegal immigrant or migrant to give residency documents. The illegal migrant crisis is big business for these NGOs. These people are getting filthy rich. Now, here's the thing is, as far as immigration goes, immigration's a good thing. We should want people coming here. Now, what happened under the Biden administration, that once again, that was not like an organic movement. That was entirely manipulated, fabricated, and orchestrated while being funded by tax dollars. That was an intentional infiltration, is what I'll say. It's important to use the correct words. It was an infiltration done on purpose. There's plenty of evidence of that too. And if we have to do a second stream where I show all of the NGOs intentionally bringing people here against the will of, all of us here, nobody wanted an open border like that. It's not safe. It's not healthy. There's all sorts of problems with it. I want people coming here because they want to be here. I want them to come here and live the life and get the life that they want when they assimilate. But dumping a bunch of people in our lap and saying, hey, this is your problem now, and you have to deal with it because you have a better life than them. That's just being told what to do. And I don't do well with that, especially when my money gets stolen from me and pays for it, anyways. So this is James O'Keefe proving through video that NGOs were, at least this one. So if one's doing it, it's likely the others were giving illegals who shouldn't be here residency documents. And this has got to be illegal, right? So let's check this out. This one's a little bit longer, but we're almost out of here.
I don't have ID, but I can give him my name.
At St. Paul's Episcopal Church, affiliated with an NGO called La Jornada, an immigrant can claim they were homeless, and if they could get proof they had resided somewhere, like a homeless shelter for 15 days, they could receive New York residency documents.
If I pay for my friends, can I get also for them?
But how far could we push the envelope? The workers at La Jornada were asked if we could procure residency for people who weren't even there.
The names?
The older one?
Okay.
So they're going to be the letter for.
Okay. Here, right?
We wrote down 4 names, including yours truly.
Okay, what's again, please?
It's 4.
Yeah.
For how much? 40. Thank you.
Our residency applications quickly proceeded to Pedro Rodriguez. He's the executive director of La Jornada, which operates out of St. Paul's Episcopal Church. Pedro appears to not examine the documents closely and just signs them without verifying their legitimacy. The documents receive a stamp of approval without any oversight. I had not yet even set foot in this place, but I now had an official document that claimed the church was my address, and I now reside in Queens, New York. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. According to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, applying for asylum is free. But at La Jornada, Pedro Rodriguez charges for it.
Dijo que te cobra 600 para llenarte con el asilo. Yo quiero saber cuánto dinero me va a cobrar. Y para el 1100 para meterme en el
While standing outside the church with our cameras, one of the immigrants asked if we were journalists. She pleaded to speak with us privately and revealed she was being scammed by Pedro Rodriguez and La Jornada.
Ellos están haciendo este proceso de asilo. En un inicio yo creí que ellos me iban a ayudar como iglesia que ayuda al inmigrante, pero ellos ya cuando empecé a entregar mis documentos me dijeron que no iban a movilizar ningún proceso mientras uno no pagaba. Entonces por mí me cobraron $500.
$500
por persona.
Per person.
for asylum?
Y luego para que nos ayuden con un permiso de trabajo es $600.
An additional $600.
Adicional $600.
En total sería como $1,100 que yo pagué, que se supone que si son una organización sin fines de lucro están cobrando. Son miles de personas que han venido aquí y han sido estafadas prácticamente.
So it was time to put all this to the test. I entered the church as James O'Keefe, Ukrainian immigrant, with documents stating I reside there and need place to rest my head.
¿Hablas español? Ok. ¿Qué necesita?
Sleep,
Sí,
James
o sea, él
O'Keefe.
está buscando un shelter donde dormir. Nosotros acá no somos shelter.
Receipt,
No.
papers. Pedro, is he here?
Yes, come.
Okay. I did say I reside here. I have blanket here. May I sleep here? Please.
Sleep here.
Why not sleep here? May I sleep here?
No, but you have to take so many tests. We have to have your honey sicknesses.
But it says I reside here.
No, it doesn't say you reside here.
What I found most odd is that Pedro Rodriguez would keep telling me that I did not reside at an address that he personally signed the letter saying that I resided at. Okay, you can have back? No. Why not?
Huh?
No, have back?
No, because it's mine. Because it says here that you are living here and you're not. So.
It says that I live here.
No.
My friend.
No, it doesn't say that it is here.
Okay.
No, it doesn't say that you're here.
It said reside, James O'Keefe.
Okay. I mean, that was intense, honestly. That shows right there that NGOs were bringing people here. And once again, I don't think, like, to be okay with organic immigration is one thing, but allowing NGOs to do this, steal our money, and then bring people in, feed them all of our stolen money, through welfare and stuff, while we ourselves are struggling. I mean, it's not like things have been great for the American citizens. Gavin Newsom's wife was seen out shopping the other day. She was in like $700 shoes with a $4,000 bag and full-time security detail with her. I mean, while some of the people in LA County are struggling to eat, it's like, it's complete Hunger Games nonsense. It's just, I don't know. It's interesting. And then on top of all of this, we're told that we have to pay for it, and that if we don't accept this, you're a fucking bigot. It's the psyops and the propaganda is cranked up to 11 right now. And, it's some damn good propaganda and some damn good psyops. So it's not hard to fight back against them, but it's just a constant onslaught. And so because of that, it's difficult to fight back against all of this. Now, let's see, there was a couple other things. Let's see. So I thought this was interesting. Maxine Waters is now claiming Trump started the riots in Los Angeles.
The local police, he should talk to the people that he's had deployed there, and he has a responsibility in all of this. He started this. There should be no violence. He should not continue to support violence. They should not be edged on and, provoked in any way, and that's what the President of the United States is doing, to exert his power and to show that he's in charge and to show that he's going to get the numbers that he promised to get people deported. And so the local police, he should talk to the people that he's...
That's just fucking crazy. And this is just coming out all over the place. Let's see. I know there was somewhere... Just a lot of stuff that came out today, of course. Let's see here. See, LAPD now getting physical with rioters. This was an hour ago. Let's see here. So I thought this was interesting. Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Vought tells Matt Gaetz that deportations will end in July if the big, beautiful bill does not pass. So now Trump is saying, hey, if this big, beautiful bill doesn't pass, I'm not going to follow through on my promises.
If this bill were law, how do you think the circumstances would be different on the streets as we see them now?
Well, we're obviously, and thanks for having me on, Matt, we're taking really important steps on the streets of Los Angeles to secure law and order, to make sure, in addition to what's being done on the border, that our ICE agents and the deportation that's ongoing, that the border security officials have the resources that they need. And what's paramount is that we be able to ensure that those funding accounts are well stocked. And right now, there's a point, probably in July, where we're going to run out of money if we don't have the money that is in reconciliation. So this is not just, and it is many things, but it is not just tax relief, it is not just spending reforms and welfare reform. It is critical border security resources that have to come soon. It has to come in July for ICE and CBP to have the necessary resources to be able to continue their work to keep the country safe.
That's just crazy. So now it's a if or thing. And guess what? This big, beautiful bill, the BBB, it's going to raise inflation. It's not cutting spending. I mean, yeah, some Doge cuts, spending cuts were passed today in, they were voted on successfully. But it doesn't matter because the big, beautiful bill, it's going to raise everything by, well, nobody knows exactly how much, but I've seen as low as 7 trillion or 3 trillion and as much as 30 trillion. So who knows exactly how that's going to affect everything, but that's not what anyone that voted for Trump voted for. They didn't vote for increased spending, although, well, I would argue that maybe they did because, voting for government, you get more government. So now I just find it interesting that it's being used, all of this is being used against people to say, hey, do this or else, which that's government for you. So we've got one more thing and then we're out of here. So this is from Mike Benz again. He actually just barely posted this. Otherwise, I'd be out of here right now. But I think this is a perfect thing to end on. Let's see right here. So today's show, or the question we were trying to answer was, is the CIA orchestrating the 2025 LA riots and nationwide mayhem? I think we have established that they have their hand in it. We have everything except for them admitting, yes, we are involved. Now I know that the dissenters or the fact checkers, all of these organizations that say that, oh, we'll decide what truth is, they would say, well, if you don't have that, then it's not true. It's a conspiracy theory until then. It's unverified claims or whatever Orwellian description they would use. But we have everything else. And so it's like when you have everything else it's safe to assume. All you have to do is just know a little history, know what's most likely plausible and possible, and then you just keep watching. And as we keep watching this, it just seems more and more likely. So I hope this whole thing has helped. But to go back to the document that this thing started with was this the CIA's riot guide. So this is actually, it looks like a second version that came out in 1983. So this is not the one that we looked at today. So we will be looking at this one at a later date, probably tomorrow. So it says the CIA's riot guide from 1983 calls for agitators to, quote, create a martyr for the cause by leading the demonstrators into a confrontation with authorities to provoke riots or shootings which may cause death of a protester and then use that death for bigger riots. Which we've seen that. And look at the BLM riots. I mean, that's what they tried to do with Kyle Rittenhouse, right? They tried to turn him into I guess, an anti-martyr, as an excuse for more riots. Didn't work. Thank God for that. But there it is in black and white. That's just crazy to me, There it is. So also right below that is where Mike Benz goes through this entire document. So I'll post all of this again. But on that, I think we're out of here because it's we've been at this for a minute. So hopefully everyone watching that's made it through all of this, hopefully you've enjoyed what I tried to do here. Hopefully it was thorough. Hopefully you learned some things, and hopefully you now at least understand what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a CIA and other organizations, mainly NGOs paid for by our tax dollars, artificially create chaos in this country. And as much as I'm not a government guy, I don't really want chaos either. As a anarcho-capitalist, I don't believe in chaos. I believe in just authority, not false authority. And there is just authority in the world. There really is. But whatever is happening is not. And so I'm not okay with this. This is not something I support. This is not something that we should be in favor of. And I mean, fuck the CIA. That's all I got to say. Fuck the CIA and anything that they're trying to do. We'll find out 30, 40 years from now. But I don't think we have to look that far. And that's what I was trying to do with today's show. So on that note, I think we're going to get out of here. I just got to say thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I know it was a long stream. I will be streaming again tomorrow. I will be doing another episode of my reading of Laurel Canyon. I kind of feel like it's appropriate with one of the Beach Boys dying, Brian Wilson. I think it's kind of appropriate that we head back into Laurel Canyon. Plus, I usually stream on Thursdays, so that will be tomorrow. Keep an eye out for that. One thing I did want to bring up before we get out of here, I didn't do it at the top of the show, but I want to do it now, is make sure and head over to our sponsor of the show, Nadu Shave Co. This is a COVID mandate refusing company. That's what it came out of. The owner was in the military, I believe, and refused the COVID mandates. And that spawned this company. I mean, veteran-owned, family-operated business. It's a business that actually gives a shit about their customers. And it's a high-quality razor. I use it myself. And it's absolutely amazing. Whether I was in communications with him or not about this, if I tried this, I would still give a sponsor. It's just that great of a product, and you won't regret it. So head on over to NADEAUSHAVECO.com. Use promo code RISE15 for 15% off, which I believe is the largest discount out of anyone he has a sponsorship with. So go show him some love. Let them know that we sent you. Other than that, once again, risetoliberty.store. Go check out the merch. New merch dropping most likely tomorrow. risetoliberty.com/coffee to go donate. Head over to Ko-Fi, all of those wonderful things. And I think on that, we're pretty much out. So let me just double check everything. Let's see, remove that. One last thing. Let me know what you guys think down below. Leave a comment, share it on social media. Just get it out there. I'm curious. I will be breaking this up as well, so there's a bit more bite-sized chunks. 3.5 hours is a bit long to share. Not everyone's going to watch that, so let's see what we can do about getting more people to watch it. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I want to hear from you guys, so let me know what you think. And other than that, until next time, stay